Elon Musk was speaking at a New York Times event, and he was asked about advertisers and the boycott, and he said, go F yourselves. And we're going to play that video for you. He said, anybody who wants to try blackmailing me with money, go F yourselves, in a powerful statement. He goes on to talk about his motivations, and he makes really great points. There are these companies that pretend to do good while doing evil just so they can earn those ESG scores, whereas he sees what he's working on is genuinely doing good, but being attacked relentlessly. And I agree. We got more news, too. This morning, Rumble announced a lawsuit against a group of activists that target conservative media, or just in general, politics and media platforms they don't like, and tried to get their ads pulled. Chris Pavlovsky, the CEO, said, the cavalry is here, announcing this lawsuit. And, well, the rumor is there's going to be many, many more lawsuits. And before the show, I saw a very, very interesting story. UFOs. And you know what that means? Hunter Biden's in the news again, because apparently they found these erratic payments from where was it from? Like from China or something?
Yeah, from China in 2018.
From China in 2018.
No, literally. So, all right, breaking kayfabe here a little bit. So Tim was going through show prep, looking at headlines, going, all right, what are we going to talk about? Like, he works out his segments. He's got the titles, pre-planned for tomorrow, whatever. And then he goes, oh, look, UFOs, there must be some Hunter Biden news just dropping. And then Libby's sitting there going, wait, there just was Hunter Biden news.
She's like,
and you didn't know that.
She's like, no, the Hunter Biden story from earlier. And I was like, what? You're like 20 minutes ago, the Hunter Biden story about the payments. And I was like, no. So that's the news. Before we get started, my friends, head over to castbrew.com and buy our coffee. Why? Because it's the best coffee you'll ever have. Appalachian Nights is so good. We sell out an insane amount. We're constantly trying to we're sold out. Okay, now we're sold out of ground Appalachian Nights, but we still have Appalachian Nights whole bean. And we also have K-Cups, and we've got light roast, dark roast. It's ground, it's whole. And you can join the Cast Brew Coffee Club if you want to support our work. We're building a coffee shop, as many of you know, and we want to create physical locations around the country where you can hang out with like-minded individuals. That's the plan. That's why we're launching a coffee company for our coffee shops, but it's easier to create the coffee than it is to make the building, so it's taken some time. But also, don't forget to go to timcast.com, click Join Us, so you can hang out in the members-only Discord with like-minded individuals, because we're trying to build culture and community. But also, you'll get access to our uncensored members-only show tonight at 10 p.m., where you can call in and ask us and our guests questions. It'll be a whole lot of fun. Generally, if you support this show and the work we do, become a member, because that is the principal way that we fund the operation and grow the operation. So we rely on viewers like you to keep these programs going and expanding. Don't forget to also smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends. Sharing really does help. Joining us tonight, as you already know, we got Jack and Libby. Jack, what up?
Jack Posobiec here from Human Events, and I just got to say, man, I really agree with Elon Musk, his statement just there. You cannot blackmail me for money. And if you want to try to blackmail me for money, then... how much are we talking? Like maybe, let's chat. I don't quite have Elon money. So
like $1 billion.
Give me a call. $1 billion.
Well, we'll get into that. I got a lot to say about this.
I could do a lot of free speech for $1 billion, Tim. I'm just saying.
That's true.
Buys you a lot of pillows, tons.
Buy a lot of pillows from MyPillow.com. Promo code Poso. Have you completed your MyPillow Christmas order yet? I just have a quick question. Have you taken advantage of the Christmas sale? Because I've been checking. I've been looking over your shoulder. I've been keeping an eye on everything that you're doing there, Hannah. Have you completed your Christmas order?
There's a lot of intense staring happening right now. I'm just going to look through it.
What
was that?
MyPillow.com. Promo code Poso.
I don't know who Hannah is. I'm Hannah Claire Brimlow. I'm a writer for Scanner, formerly Timcast News. I'm not used to saying it yet.
Well, it's not formerly Timcast News. It's actually
still kind of
SCNR has been around longer than Timcast News.
Well, but I was with Timcast News first. I was formerly with Timcast News, and now
I'm
with Scanner. Yeah, Tim fired me, then rehired me in the quickest chain of successions. It was a lot. It was a very traumatic day. No,
SCNR.com's been around for a while.
Do we call it SCNR instead of
SCNR or Scanner? Whatever you want to call it.
I like Scanner.
But it's like if people are trying to look for the website, scnr.com, it's getting off the ground. We've got a lot of plans for it. There's other people involved. We have this one actually is from several years ago, overcoming some legal challenges, but it's back. Articles are starting to populate, and Shane Cashman wrote this crazy article about going with these pedo.
He sent me that. Yeah,
it's a wild story.
Yeah, it's totally wild.
Hannah Claire is also a writer for Scanner.
Yes, I am a writer for Scanner, which is new to me, but not new to everyone in Timcast sphere. And Libby's here.
Hey, I'm Libby Emmons. I am with the Post Millennial and HumanEvents.com.
And I just want to say, I think they're doing some kind of manhunt around the property.
I'm wondering what it is.
It's all over.
There's like a helicopter flying at like 50 feet.
Yeah, so I thought it was
So what
gone,
is it exactly?
and it seemed to be going. So you know what they're doing? It's flying.
Hunter Biden
It's flying in circles. No, they've got no. It's
the UFO,
That's
right?
concentric circles. They're if there is a manhunt, they're either looking for someone or they're doing training as if they're looking for someone.
Well, it's
that's what
awfully
you would
close
do.
to the ground.
So
It's
it'll
weird
get
that you have
quiet.
this spin, though. You're saying that they're looking for someone. They're pretending to look for someone. It's definitely not you.
No,
You're not on the
pretending.
run.
No, it's just training. It's that's just a weather balloon, buddy. Don't worry about that. It's some swamp gas. There's a bunch of swamp
Montana.
gas out
So
there.
we got Serge pressing the buttons.
Yeah, I'm here. Just listening to Jack talk about his operation going on outside.
So it'll get quieter, and then it'll get louder, and then it'll get quieter, and then it'll get louder, and then I will find the person who's been using promo code Tanya within this
Oh my
zip
goodness.
code. We tracked it to a single computer. Someone who said they formerly worked for Timcast News now works for something called SCNR. I have no idea who she is, but we will track her
But
down.
Tanya's a great lady. Have you guys met her? She's fantastic.
She's all right. She's all right. Yeah,
I'm just gonna
like her.
say.
I like her. I'll keep her.
Yeah.
So promo code Tanya.
Tanya.
No, that doesn't exist. That's not a real thing, as a matter
okay.
of fact.
I
It's a
bet-
sting operation.
But you would
It's
only
been a
know
sting
if you
operation
test it
from
out.
the start,
All
which
right.
you should never do. by
Let's
the way.
jump into this first story from scnr.com. Scanner.
What a cool news
Elon-
site. I love it.
Yeah, Elon Musk on Advertisers withdrawing from X. We're getting off to an early start, so earmuffs your kids. Go fuck yourself. Wow,
Oh,
man.
wow.
By the way,
whole
Tanya, you
world,
can probably not have the kids watch.
That's a quote.
Back home.
the whole world.
quote.
That's why I said F in the beginning, because I said we're going to play the video. You need the context. The whole world will know those advertisers that killed the company. This is what I've been saying. I was saying in 2018 when the adpocalypse happened on YouTube, I said, if Coca-Cola or insert company, let's say Coca-Cola as an example. I don't know if they boycotted, but let's say they go to YouTube and say, we're going to pull our ads off because of the brand safety issue. YouTube should have said, well, okay, I guess we can give all of your ad space to Pepsi instead. And they would have been like, wait, no, that's really bad for our brand. Yeah, we're going to go give it to your principal, actually RC Cola. RC Cola is getting all of your ad space now, free of charge.
Remember Jolt Cola? Can we give it to Jolt Cola?
Yeah.
Oh, I love
Yes.
Jolt Cola.
What's the
Bring it
thing
back.
That
Bring
the
Jolt Cola back.
Insane Clown Posse guys drink?
Fago.
Fago.
Yeah,
gotta-
let's put it in that.
Let's
Give it
play.
a Fago.
Let's
I'm
play
down.
this clip.
I used to drink Jolt at the South Street Diner.
Serge, remember Serge? All right, here we
Yeah,
go. Here's the
yes.
clip.
Apology tour, if you will. That this had been said online. There was all of the criticism. There was advertisers leaving. We talked to Bob Iger
I hope
today.
they stop.
You hope
Don't advertise.
you don't want them to advertise?
No. If somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money, go fuck yourself.
Yes, dude.
Just like nervous laughter.
Look at Sorkin.
Go fuck yourself.
Is he doing it? Okay.
In case he wasn't
somewhere
clear enough the first
I hope it is.
You calling him out?
Hey, Bob. If you're in the
Wow.
Because Bob
Well, let
Iger
me ask
spoke
you then-
earlier that day.
Bob Iger, yeah.
That's how
I
I
think
feel.
he's still in the room, actually,
Yeah,
when
I
he's
think he
saying
is.
this.
How do you think then about apology tour?
Absolutely amazing when he's like, I hope they stop.
You can.
What?
He actually freezes.
Stop advertising.
Yeah.
He actually freezes for a second. So Andrew Sorkin, this is a guy. You know, he's CNBC, but he's kind of like their golden boy. Then he goes on, this is the New York Times Summit. This is like the masters of the universe of Wall Street. They're all there. Elon comes in. This is where Jamie Dimon, I think earlier in the day, came out and urged everyone to get behind Nikki Haley. They're like, hey, let's get the Uniparty back together. You know, let's do it, guys. Remember we used to run game before Trump? We're going to do that again. And Sorkin was totally down, and everyone was fine with that. Like you can be totally fine by telling people that you want to go on a murderous rampage and invade the Middle East and kill thousands of people. That's cool, and nobody bats an eye. But if you tell advertisers to F off, then everybody loses.
I was going to say you can advocate for attacking Russia.
Yes, nuclear war.
Nuclear war. But if you say we're going to build a wall on our southern border, well, now you're a bigot, racist, and must be stopped.
And there's no way to afford that. We couldn't possibly afford $3 billion for the wall, even though we're paying what $450 billion for all the illegals. It's billion or million?
Mm-hmm. I think it's billion.
It's actually a billion. It's like a factor. It's like I almost can't believe this.
You see Chicago, they're building the camps.
I love
With
it.
churches?
They're building
I love it.
two camps with churches?
No.
No. They have big empty industrial lots.
I'm mixing up stories. You
and
ignore
they're
me.
in two areas in the south side of Chicago. They're building a brick and mortar migrant camp, and then they're also building a tent city.
Well, you see, that'll be perfect for once we get in power for the mass deportations to start, because Stephen Miller is going to run up there himself and actually just start shoveling them onto the back of trucks.
Alex Jones called this a long time ago. It's wild.
That they're the left
15
is
years ago.
far more willing to use government power against any target than the right is. Right? The right is terrified of wielding power.
Well, because,
the left has no problem whatsoever.
Yeah, well, that's right, because the left that's what they decided governance is. They decided governance is using the government to suppress the American people, and that's their plan.
Right. So the only difference is they'd want to put us in there.
Going back to the Elon story, I don't know if this was a response, but there's a quote from Bob Iger. I have a lot of respect for Elon and what he has accomplished, said Iger. We know that Elon is larger than life in many respects, and that his name is very much connected to the companies he founded or owns. By him taking the position he took in a public manner, we felt that the association was not necessarily a positive one for us. And I'm going to go ahead and say they're lying.
It's not a response. He said it prior.
He said it prior, right. And he's lying because...
So that's why he said, hi, Bob.
They wrote to their shareholders. This is Iger's Disney, right?
Yeah.
Bob Iger, yeah,
right.
Easy.
They wrote that they know that their views are misaligned with the public. So for him...
Internally.
To shareholders, to investors.
Right.
So they know that they're on the wrong side of all of this, and they're losing money because of it.
Well, and that movie Wish just totally flopped at the box office.
Pure communism.
What was the Marvels? The Marvels was the other one. Just absolute flop. And the books aren't doing well either. So the actress formerly known as Paige, that book totally flopped after getting a massive advance from publishers. Jamel Hill's book totally flopped after getting massive advance. They sold like a couple thousand copies. There's just no market for this crap.
But what's wild is they sold out, what was it, a 6-month supply of Michael Knowles' cigars in 24 hours.
24 hours, yeah.
And he was like, the supplier assured us, this is 6 months, trust us. And he's like, okay. And then 24 hours, it's gone. That's crazy.
And then we wonder why the book about queering the Western did not take off. It was a queer Western.
Ah.
Yeah.
Because that's what people are looking for.
No one wanted to read it.
It's not.
These all had hefty advances.
It's not just like Wish or the Marvels. Remember Strange World or whatever it was called?
Yep.
Like the whole plot was like a diverse group of people with a bunch of different identities or whatever.
You're really going to have to narrow it down.
They go on a space quest.
That's literally everything.
I got no idea.
Now,
I'm not going to watch any of that stuff.
Well,
what is
like
wild?
A diverse group of friends. Like that's how every single movie pitch starts right now.
What absolutely is wild, we talked about this with Jeremy Boring the other day, is that like 2 weeks after Daily Wire announces their Snow White, Disney releases a photo of Rachel Ziegler as in the original Snow White costume with dwarves around her, with the original 7 dwarves. We saw the photos of the 7 companions. I guess they're firing. What are they going to fire all those actors? Just they're all gone now?
Like, wouldn't it have been, but just on the face of it, wouldn't it have been really cool if they had got Peter Dinklage and had him play all 7 of the
But he was the one who said no.
Yeah.
Wasn't he the one who was like,
he said no.
You can't hire. And then there were a lot of other people who were like,
really
you are
against this.
limiting us. Like, we don't care about this.
But,
we would love to be cast in these roles.
Wouldn't that have been hilarious to have him in, and he's got like a different beard or a different hair, a different hat. And he like, I don't know, that would just be good. And I don't think anyone would be making fun of you. It's because these are iconic characters.
Exactly.
Well, so mythical dwarves are forged from the stone inside of mountains.
Yes.
Like, we're not insulting you, bro. It's like a mythical character, and the women have beards. Female dwarves have beards.
Yep.
It's like a mythical thing. Like,
there's a lot of politicians who have beards too.
That's true. That is absolutely correct. But
and I don't mean facial
he takes it personally. I don't know. I'm wondering though. Where's he going to get the money for operating this here platform that we all like?
I mean, this is what Elon was kind of saying, which was that the business will fail and everyone will closely document which companies pulled out and allowed Twitter to fail. And Sorkin kind of stutters and is like, no, the advertisers are going to say you said those things and they couldn't be on the platform anymore. And that's why they pulled out. And Musk responds, we'll see how Earth responds to that. Because ultimately, if the advertisers are ruining something the public wants, like Twitter, I mean, there are a lot of Twitter competitor or ex-competitors out there, but nothing succeed in replacing them. And so people will know who pulled out and wanted to win it.
Elon,
Threads
he knows
sucks.
what he's got.
Elon needs to reach out to Anheuser-Busch.
That's
and
a
go for
great
Bud
idea.
Light. I'm a big Bud Light fan, by the way. Bud Light's the go-to beer.
Because of the deal with
Sean Strickland, because UFC.
Yeah.
Because they basically totally reversed course in the exact opposite direction by doing this. So now you have Sean Strickland saying things I can't repeat on YouTube,
And they're subsidizing it.
So I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, let's push that. Let's have that be the narrative.
Plus, who doesn't love a good redemption story?
Yeah. I feel like I'm holding out. They need a little bit more redemption from them, but it's a step in the right direction.
But if every company that did some woke BS flipped and started sponsoring people we liked, we have to accept that as a win.
Our win, yeah.
That is
so
a win.
you're not going to get like you're not going to get rid of Anheuser-Busch. That company's just too powerful to ever not stop existing. So I think, and we talked about this on Thought Crime with the show I do with Charlie, where it's sort of like, at what point do you stop beating, right? You stop beating until they correct the behavior. So if they've overcorrected in the other behavior, then they're okay. Now we have to so Absolute Vodka, I think, Libby, you were tweeting about this. Like they've gone 10 times worse than anything that Bud Light ever did.
Well, no more Absolute Vodka. What do we have? We have our
Tim's
stuff
cutting
from Russia.
himself off.
Cutting off. We never bought that crap. We buy our stuff's from Russia.
The real stuff.
Yeah, real
Authentic.
stuff.
Vodka.
Exactly.
The real
That's how you do it.
vodka. This is what you do.
I thought it was funny, too,
Cure
'cause-
COVID with vodka.
We bought it at like the peak of the Russia-Ukraine
Demonetized.
conflict. And then the guy at the liquor store is like, that's from Russia. And I'm like, I'll take 3. It's like, I don't
Never
know.
saw it again.
I mean, my legend says that Russia has the good vodka. No one's actually had any, I'm pretty sure.
Really?
Like we have Grey Goose too in the liquor cabinet.
It
But I
will
don't,
turn you to bear. Tim's going to come in with like a Z
I used
on
to
his
buy
knee.
I used to buy Zhelka vodka from this liquor store called KGB Liquors on Essex Street. in Manhattan.
oh wow. Everybody drinks scotch. You're like, someone comes in and they're like, I'll have a drink. They're going for some kind of like a scotch or a bourbon.
Yeah.
Nobody touches the tequila or the vodka. What are those, like college party drinks, I guess? I'm like, we got good stuff. We
I think
take care of
Scots
our
you just
guests.
savor a little bit more. And like,
I guess. The best
know.
thing ever, shout out to Max Blumenthal. He went right for the Malort. And he was like, oh, Malort. And I was like, are you joking?
I couldn't
He
tell
was
if it
like,
was
no,
or
I
not.
love this stuff. And I was like, oh, wow. For those who don't know, it's a Chicago thing.
I would say, though, what Elon has done here, he has declared a new meme war. He has declared meme jihad on any advertiser that's come. That's what he's done. He's gone to the heart of Wall Street, right? And he has now declared war on any business that doesn't advertise on, or I should say that pulled out of X over this. So to all the meme warriors out there, to the edge lords, to the posters, this is your call. The banners have been called. The beacons have been lit. Meme jihad on all of them.
I want all of you sitting at home in front of your computers with paintbrush on your taskbar pinned to crack that open and make the memes. And when you post that meme, I want to imagine that you are Gandalf on top of that hill at the Battle of Helm's Deep with the Riders of Rohan storming in.
How did you know that I have it pinned? I'm not even joking.
Paintbrush.
Yo, I literally was hitting up my boy Still Boneless the other day because they changed MS Paint to like a new version.
Yeah.
And all the like original format is off. And I was like, no, it's not working. It's not.
they're trying to thwart this.
But there's
They're trying to stop the meme. Yeah, they're trying to stop the
it's
meme war.
preemptive strike.
So you can like down convert it, and there's a
Yeah.
way. And Boneless figured it out. So
I
shout
mean, OG MS Paint is like for making the memes.
Yes.
All of the drawings of characters in the memes are drawn,
Yep.
haphazardly through MS Paint. We don't need improvements.
No.
Get out of here with
like
that.
the original always has been the 2 astronauts meme. That's very famously like a really crude MS Paint meme. like the original one.
This was my pitch to Elon, and he's like, sort of there. I was saying he should anti-advertise. Perhaps it's as simple as what Jack is saying. We should just start memeing all of these companies and insulting them and
meme
saying,
jihad.
yes, meme crusade.
Well, Dave's Volt, baby.
It is. These look, Disney. Who do they think they are? Like they made Mulan and thanked the security forces running the concentration camps, the Uyghur concentration camps in China, and they're going to get on their high horse and insult X. It's purely political. Spare me your nonsense. You don't care what Elon Musk said. You're playing dirty games because you're crackpot weirdos. But I'll tell you this. When Disney put out that statement about how they're losing, they mentioned their goals towards the environment and social change. Quite literally, they're saying ESG has screwed us over and is costing all of you money.
Well, because at the end of the day, right? ESG only existed, this environmental sustainability government scheme was it was all about a stock scheme, right? It was never anything that had to do with making a good product. So the idea was that if you had a good ESG score, that you would score bigger capital with like BlackRock and Blackstone, State Street, etc. So they would come in and they would capitalize you, and then your stock would rise, and then also you would just gain more access to more capital markets, more American capital markets through that. And so again, like you wanted a better score. So this is in your question. Famously, by the way, they screwed over Elon Musk for Tesla because they gave them a low ESG score. And he's like, I'm literally the only guy in the world who founded a company just to do electric cars. How could, this is the definition
not diverse
of
enough.
ESG, right? And they got hit on diversity. He's like, it's the definition of environmentally
I'm
friendly.
an African immigrant who started an electric car company.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
How could I possibly have a negative score? And they hit him on diversity because he had too many white males. And
Right.
so, he's declaring his like internal jihad against it, but there's a lot of people now looking at it saying, look, we realize that this has gone way too far, because initially it was just supposed to get your score up to help with the stock, but then it just slowly dominated those entire companies. It dominated their entire workforce. Obviously with Netflix, we know it's turned into a meme. It's turned into a meme with Netflix, where they're kind of like leaning into it now, and they're making like the General Hannibal is going to be black.
Yeah,
which is Denzel Washington.
Wow.
Who's a great actor. Like, we all love Denzel, right? I don't think there's really any Denzel detractors out there, but
the argument is
the
that like, he's
Carthaginians
from
were
Northern
not,
Africa, and he's like, even though it's Africa, he's not
Right.
like a black African.
It's
He's not the same.
I don't have a big problem with Idris Elba playing
007?
no in Thor.
The watch guy, the guy with the eyes.
I forgot his name. Do you remember his name?
Nah.
He's like an actual like
Yeah, I know who you're talking
Norse
about.
mythological god or whatever. And I'm like, I don't have a big issue with like anyone playing any mythological or
No,
whatever.
me neither. No
yeah, it's like
concerns at
whatever.
all.
But if it's like a historical figure,
Historical figures are worse. I will say, even with mythical stuff, like there are lots of cultures that have myths. Why don't we just have new ideas? Why don't we do new things? Like, this is
Time
what
doll.
bothered me about
Time doll,
the Little Mermaid thing, and Disney pays for this, right? They decide that they don't see enough diversity, and rather than saying like, well, what cultures do we want to see diversity from, and what stories can we steal from them? Instead, they're like, Hans Christian Andersen, we're doing it again, except we've just changed the skin tones. And that feels so cheap and gross that I think ultimately it's collapsing around them. It's the same
the
thing,
thing
like
is, though-
when they're making these teeny bopper remakes of stuff. What was it? They had one that like on Robin Hood, except it was going to be a girl and it's set in the inner city. And ultimately, I don't even know if it ever got made because people don't like it. It's transparent. It's cheap. It doesn't engage them intellectually. It's not really a form of art. It's barely a form of entertainment.
But
This
they're
isn't
not
a
just
marketable
changing.
skill.
Yeah, but they're not just changing the skin tone, right? I mean, if you're just changing skin tone, that's one thing. But you're not just swapping gender when you do it. When you do that kind of thing. What you're doing is taking stories that have meaning, that have a place in culture, and transforming them into something that is meaningless and empty and dead. So you're taking living stories and living narratives, and you're just killing them, and turning them into nothing.
I mean, that was the thing about Snow White, right?
Is this real, Tim? I just saw a tweet. The New York Times just deleted the Deal Book Summit with Elon from their YouTube channel.
No shit.
What?
Oh, excuse me. What happened?
It says,
You're fired.
just before the show. Obviously what this clip
I don't
is
know
from.
how we would track that. If the video's not there, the video's not there. How do we know it was ever there?
Maybe it has been
'Cause we have
archived.
clips of it.
We do
No, but-
have plenty of clips.
Someone has a link back to it from New York Times under
There's stuff
the
with
New York
Elon
Times
up.
events.
No, the Elon stuff is up.
On Twitter.
Well, it's CNBC has clips of
Yeah,
it.
that's what I'm saying. There's clips of it still out, but apparently the whole thing was according to the tweet from Adrian Dittman, they're saying the New York Times took down the full event from New York Times events.
Interesting.
I'm going to stop right there. You know, what probably happens is when live, you can set live shows to not be public after they're done. That may have just been the case.
This video has been removed by the uploader.
Yeah.
That's what it would say.
I'm pretty sure that when you're setting a live stream, you can set them so that after they're done, they don't appear as videos on your channel, and it would say it's removed. So,
It doesn't look like they have anything from Deal Book Summit up. Not just
but I don't know. Like the clips that were pulled, they were pulled while the show was still live.
I mean, yeah, you can't stop the clips. The clips are
Yeah.
out. But
I don't know.
But why would you pull it?
I mean, I'm pretty sure they may have just made it so the show went behind the went private as soon as it was done being live. That's a common thing.
Oh,
Maybe, I don't know. I'm just saying, before I say anything, I'd like to know for sure exactly what happened.
sure.
If it was, the live stream was done and it was on their channel and you could watch the archive, and now it's been deleted, that means they went and actually removed it.
I mean, they've got a bunch of other live streams up.
But I don't know why they would even do that, because but when are they from?
One's from 8 hours ago. Was it
an event, or what is it?
Some are events, some are interviews, some are just different things.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Perhaps that is the case. Well, shall we talk about the war for your minds? We got the story from Scanner at scnr.com. Rumble files lawsuit against media watchdog group when anti-free speech zealots lie to inflict intentional economic harm on our company. We have no choice but to hold them accountable. Video streaming platform Rumble has filed a federal defamation suit against two co-founders of a media watchdog group. I don't think it's fair to call them a media watchdog group. That's their language. Who wrote this story? This is Chris Bertman. Chris Bertman. See, he's doing the right thing in trying to be honest and fair in labeling the group what you would assume them to be. If you understand what this group does, I would not call them a media watchdog group.
I wouldn't either.
Yeah, lying about people and trying to engage in tortious interference is not media watchdog. Maybe leftist or liberal political activism is probably fair to say. But just real quick to get to the opening context here. Rumble is suing these individuals because they claimed that Rumble receives 90% of its funding through Google ads or something to that effect. And that's not true. Rumble says this is completely false. And they actually told them this is not true. And it's damaging to their brand, because Rumble, their business is, we are independent from big tech. So they said they know it's not true. They won't take it down. We're suing them for defamation, which means either these people knowingly posted lies, and considering they've been informed it's not true, that it seems that may be the case, or they have just reckless disregard for the truth. But these groups, these individuals have gone after Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk. I'm pretty sure they go after you, right, Jack?
Well, they go after post-millennial human events.
They sure do.
But do they have you listed as their insurrectionists? I'm on the list.
I'd have to look.
They came after us because of our work with Andy, and
it's usually about Andy.
They basically got Antifa to go after our advertisers and take us down.
You didn't make the list. Sorry, Jack. It's Dan Bongino, Charlie Kirk, Tucker Carlson. We got Glenn Beck, Steve Bannon, and me.
I reached out at one point.
And I don't even know why I'm on there.
Wait, scroll down a little bit.
It's wild. What are you looking for?
Well, because it's talking about the January 5th show of War Room, because I was sitting next to Steve on that show. But yeah.
Didn't make the cut.
I'm like, why am I on this list? They claim
I will try harder during the next insurrection, I promise.
They argue that I'm one of the biggest proponents of the big lie. And the big lie is defined as Donald Trump claiming he actually won 2020. And I've always maintained that.
I've never heard you say that.
I argued with Bannon that no.
That.
Literally.
Like twice. So,
you guys went at it in the third hour too.
Yeah. My position was like, dude, people keep saying Biden can't get 85 million votes. And I'm like, you're correct. Trump got anti-vote. Like, people weren't voting for Biden. Don't think that. But I think what we saw was procedural.
But there were issues with those ballots.
I don't know about that. What I will say is, if you operate under the assumption that fraud is the reason you lost, you lose again. If you operate under the assumption that Democrats were changing rules in ways that greatly benefited them, and they did, you will win. For one, we saw in Georgia, Republicans lost the Senate race because there are people who are like, what's the point of voting anyway? They're going to steal it. No, we can't have that mentality. But anyway, without getting into all that stuff, because we don't need to, the fact that they are arguing I made these claims, now you totally get why they're being sued by Rumble, okay? This is not a media watchdog group. They're outright lying.
Mm-hmm. I actually reached out to one of the board members in 2021 when they were targeting post-millennial and we were losing ad revenue, and it was not a pleasant moment.
You actually lost ad revenue?
Yeah.
Because of them?
Yeah.
How?
Because they went after our advertisers, and our advertisers refused to advertise on the platform.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because if an advertiser sees any of this
out.
as valid, they present themselves
I asked them about it. I asked one of the board members about it directly, and she responded, and she said, As to advertisers being intimidated into dropping you, advertisers are not so easily scared. If they drop you, it seems worthwhile to look at why and make your choices about what or what not to do about it. And she later said, keep your eye on the prize. What is so important is to consider why would an advertiser drop a publisher they think worthy of support? They wouldn't. So she ended up saying, basically that publishers make these decisions and the people who, where they advertise, like post-millennial, should make different decisions in order to keep the advertisers.
Yeah.
So it is an intimidation thing.
For sure. I mean,
Yeah. If they admitted it. And they also said, in part, that their goal is to destroy the ad tech business entirely.
Yeah. I mean, if they are not open about what their political leanings are, then, or even if they are, they can still be accepted as a mainstream reference, right? You'll have things all the times that are say, oh, you're on the SPLC's list of whatever, and so we can't trust your opinion. You're on this group's thing, so we can't advertise with you. These lists are created so that they become taken as,
as gospel.
As
And it's the
gospel.
rule.
Never
Yeah.
trust any, conservative that doesn't get ended up on one of these lists or doesn't get attacked by any of these people.
I wanna-
ever trust them.
I want to pull up this post from them so you can understand. This is what Rumble is suing. They tweeted, in case you're wondering where Tim Pool's been. Right-wing podcaster Tim Pool isn't selling ads anymore after a successful Check My Ads campaign. He's selling ... coffee, and we found out who makes the beans. Here's the thing.
Oh, did you?
We are selling ads. We've never lost a sponsor. We have all our sponsors still. We literally just recorded several ads. On what days? It's Wednesday.
Monday.
On Monday, I'm like, everyone get out. We're recording ads for the same sponsors. We just finalized another 6-figure sponsorship deal. They're outright lying and using the lies to make money, to convince people to donate.
Wait, so because I remember seeing that when they posted that, or you were tweeting at them or something, and then I went back and was thinking like, so sometimes if I don't catch the show live, I'll go back and listen on the podcast side, and I'm like, they're all there, like you can hear it, it's totally normal, and it's been that way for I don't know years at this point.
So we've been doing mostly over the past few months direct reads for Cast Brew Coffee, obviously, because we're building up our own company, which is probably going to crack over $1 million in revenue in its first year.
So in a
fantastic.
conspiracy to profit, you've created a company and you're using your other company to leverage that new company. I mean, this is the most nefarious thing I've ever heard.
So currently we have our same ad sales rep for, we used to do more live reads during the show. Now it's all just the recorded.
Right.
So if you guys listen on the podcast, you'll get the recorded ads where it's like,
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
BetterHelp and the sponsors are all still there. And we actually do really well. We like substantially. They're outright fabricating this. And I will add, the only reason we've not done live reads specifically, despite the fact we still have all these sponsors asking us when we will, is because we're trying to promote as much as possible Cast Brew. But we actually did a deal for some live reads on the show again. Like, what you see, they use deceptive language. First of all, they said, I'm not selling ads anymore. Totally false. We're absolutely selling ads. We still have all the same sponsors.
Yeah.
And we just finalized a 6-figure deal with a new sponsor. So that is factually incorrect. It is absolutely false. And they say after a successful Check My Ads campaign. Is that fraud? They're
I feel like
fundraising
it
off
is.
this.
It doesn't make sense to me. Also, because I mean, did they get in contact? Like, where did they find out that you weren't selling ads? Obviously, if they had done any kind of research, that would have been false.
They could
just sort
contact our ad sales
They
people.
sort of were like, "Oh, Tim's not talking about something, so we've decided." Like,
So
it doesn't
are
make
they-
any sense.
how
But if you
how are
listen
they
to
monetized?
if you listen, they take donations.
So they're C3.
Yes, if you listen to the audio podcast, there's I think 10 ads, like from a ton of different sponsors.
Yes.
That's a lot.
and they're fundraising off the
Yeah, some
lie
of it's
that we
you,
don't.
some of it's inserts, some of it's like donuts, all different things.
It seems weird. It's
Donuts
just
is a
for,
style
like
of
wild.
ad, folks. He's not actually advertising donuts. It's when they send you.
I mean, we
part,
might,
and then
I
you
don't know.
that's when you like when they send you part of an ad and then you insert something and then what I
Yeah,
mean?
so here's the way it works. Some ad sales are like, hey, we have an ad, we want to run it on your show. It's like, all right, great. We have an ad company we have a management company that handles that.
Right.
We just choose where on the show to put it. And then a few of our sponsors, our bigger sponsors, they say, we want Tim Pool to read this personally.
Correct.
We say, you got it. And that costs obviously a little bit more. And then for this show, we actually have all of our sponsors. We used to do reads for like Virtual Shield. There's safeandreadymeals.com. There's what else do we have?
The like protein energy thing.
Oh, right. We got the collagen.
Yeah,
we have the camping gear and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, all of these sponsors are still there. And we've actually been I've been talking to the ad sales guy about end of the year sales to bring them back in, because I'm like, look, we've been doing Casper this whole time. Anyway, I digress.
Yeah, because usually my contracts run it's like January to January. So
yeah.
So at this point,
we do monthly.
We're going into really.
Yeah. Every month we renegotiate, and that I like it better because I'm like, look, we had a great month. This month's gonna be bigger. We want more money.
Yeah.
So,
well, I shouldn't say most.
My ad guy just sent me like a December pitch, and I said yes. And they're like, this is insane. It's just absolutely insane that these groups lie. Look, I guess they have success in some areas. Like, you guys were losing money. I'm like, what are they talking about? I never promoted the big lie. I never claimed Trump won, and we still sell ads. Yeah, Joe, this is wild. Mm-hmm. I don't know, man. Like, do I have to pursue some kind of like criminal charge, like fraud charges against them? Because I guess what you'd have to do is find someone who donated to them because they believed this organization had negatively impacted our business. They also have a tweet up claiming that our website's demonetized, which it's literally not.
What, dude?
It's crazy. Man, whatever though. But Rumble's suing them because they're doing the same thing. They claim that Rumble is operating off Google ads, and Rumble's like, no, we aren't. In fact, I will add, well, I shouldn't say too much, but what I can say is Rumble has their own ads that appear on Rumble. Wild. This is what these activists do. They claim to be an organization that fights disinformation, but literally all they do is manufacture it.
Also, they're a not-for-profit. Their 501c3 status is pending. And I just wonder what is so charitable about this organization that tax dollars should be going to this group.
Right. I mean,
why is the IRS
the tax dollars don't go to it. They just don't pay taxes.
They just don't pay taxes on it. Exactly.
They're just claiming that they're doing a public service by, telling you what's going on, and the public has more information this way. They'll get their 501c3 status because ultimately the people who give to them are the same people who give to the political leaders who are in charge right now. I mean, they see it as a benefit to their own mission. And that's why they can send you emails being like, well, if you were better at publishing better stuff, then your advertisers wouldn't pull out. It's not that we bullied them. It's just we decided that you were an unwanted organization and told them that. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. It feels very dystopian to me. Like,
they get grants and individual donations.
The company does.
Interesting. Yeah. So I'm looking up their filings.
That was the weird thing about hearing Elon Musk talk, which is that he's saying, the advertisers believe they can ultimately get me to do what they want. Even Sorkin opening up with, well, you're sort of on this apology tour. And I felt like I could watch Elon Musk tense and be like, I'm absolutely not on an apology tour. I am not going to admit that you guys or
admit wrongdoing,
or just partake in this manipulation of what you want. And I think the weird thing is that ultimately advertisers need the eyes, and the eyes are going to stay on Twitter, meaning that the users are staying on Twitter even if the advertisers pull off, right? Like the engagement on Twitter didn't dip because the advertisements went away. Ultimately, to me, it seems like someone else will rise up and take those spots back, or they'll come back because that's where the crowd is.
Wild. Yeah. This is what we're up against.
Well, and Texas the Texas AG is suing Media Matters.
He is suing?
Yeah.
He's investigating.
He was investigating. He's investigating Media Matters.
So in Texas, they can't bring their AG is situated a little bit differently. Like, he has to pass off a criminal case to someone else. They can't bring them themselves like you can in some states. Same with civil. And so Missouri was a huge one because they were able to bring direct action. But it's just a great example, right? So look at the Trump cases that are going on right now from the left. You've got the Attorney General of New York finding any pretext to go after him, literally any pretext to go after him, his company, his family, even things that didn't even happen in her state. She's finding a way to make it happen. You see this with Fani Willis. You see this again and again. One of the best, from his perspective, one of the most strategic and most efficient uses of money that George Soros ever did was in funding all of these people. Because for a couple $1,000,000 here and there, you compare that to like the Koch industry, the Koch brothers who spent billions, like just drowning our country down the tubes, and now they want to throw all this money behind Nikki Haley.
Now they're backing Haley. It's so crazy.
And you compare that to just a couple $1,000,000 that George Soros spent in key targeted races, whereby he's now able to have the president of the United States arrested. He's able to have the front runner for the Republican nomination be put under a series of trials. So all of this is going on. Meanwhile, Republicans will sit back and go, oh, we can't do anything like that. That's not fair. You've got all of these organizations. Look what they did to the NRA. Look what Letitia James did to the NRA and just completely castrated them in front of everyone. Sure, they still exist on paper, but they're so much more castrated than they've ever been in terms of the 2A fight right now. At a time where, just to be frank about it, the Republican Party needs single issue voters. Look at how the Democrats are utilizing single issue voters when it comes to abortion and turning that into a massive ballot harvesting operation. The NRA could be doing that if they existed or had any serious operations right now. Just doesn't exist after what Letitia James did. And Republicans will sit there and say, oh, that's not fair. Meanwhile, Democrats are saying, let's strip Trump off the ballot. Let's find any way that we can destroy you guys and keep pressing the advantage. Because again, Democrats know how to use government power. They will use government power, and Republicans are terrified. So I threw out there, and not to get into like the primary stuff, if you want to.
We're about to, actually.
I threw out there that a guy like Ron DeSantis would never even... he would be physically terrified to utter the words, I'm going to have Joe Biden stripped from the ballot in Florida.
Yep.
And, he has full power in the state super legislature. He could easily file a charge from his campaign saying that Biden is ineligible, and you find pretext under the fact that he took bribery from China, which is an impeachable offense. And he could say, therefore, you are not eligible to run for president under the Constitution. And you could file that lawsuit. And this guy, he would be terrified to do that because, and you can say it's not the stones, not the backbone, whatever. It's just, no, he is a pedantic rule follower. He's terrified of actually standing up for himself and fighting back. And it's why he'll go on Laura Ingraham and can't even name Ronna McDaniel and say, oh, I'm terrified to do this. You could see Laura rolling her eyes at him. And my point is that it's not even an anti-DeSantis thing. It's just that there's a lot of Republicans like this. They are terrified to actually use government power.
Well, let's jump to this story from the Daily Mail. You know what this means? Exclusive. U.S. military is seeing UFOs in space, official report says. And that can only mean one thing. Hunter Biden was caught with weird money laundering again. Fox News reports money laundering investigator warned of Hunter Biden's unusual erratic payments from China in 2018. The bank investigator raised concerns about money that ultimately funded the $40,000 payment to Joe Biden, Comer says. So, of course, there's a big UFO story coming out on the same day that there is a mysterious Chinese payment to Hunter Biden in the news. Surprise, surprise. And looks like Fox News' website is completely broken.
The best part about this story was that the bankers that flagged the payments said that there was no obvious services rendered. Yeah. I love that.
Who knows?
What are they paying for?
Do you think the UFO people are sad that the thing they love and are passionate about has been ruined by the Biden administration?
Yes.
No,
I think they must be, right?
I think they're just stoked that people are talking about it.
No, hold on.
There was a Tucker show about it.
No, the UFO people turned on Fox News and they reported Hunter Biden, and they immediately called their friends like, we got UFO news coming.
They're like, brace yourselves, it's about to happen. Maybe that's good.
Hunter Biden's in the news.
Because I was thinking, if you're a UFO person, you're like, the Biden administration is just releasing all kinds of fake information under the guise of UFOs to distract from Hunter. But maybe the information they're releasing is legitimate, and that way you can really distract people. You know what I mean? Like, are they making stuff up to cover up Hunter's crimes?
They're stretching nonsense. They have these minor reports where it's like a guy saw a thing, who knows? And now they're like, look, over here. Check this out. In an email released from the House Oversight Committee on Wednesday, a Bank Secrecy Act manager raised concerns the payments did not appear to correspond to any services rendered, as well as Chinese efforts to target children of politicians. The investigator suggested the bank reevaluate its relationship with the client. So you had private sector concerns that homeboy over here was taking dirty money from foreign governments. Well, here we are, ladies and gentlemen, with new UFO news breaking as we speak. How about that? I want to explain something to everybody. How money and finance works. You know, they talk about Donald Trump hiring his family and his kids and all that stuff, and I'm like, yeah, it's not an easy thing to do. If you own a business, and let's say you own a car dealership, you're pulling in $1 million a month. That's like a good amount for a car dealership. Now, I'm not saying profit. That's your revenue. And so let's say you got a good profit margin. You think, I'm going to hire my son, and I'm going to pay him 6 figures. Good luck. You need a clearly defined job, a job title, a legitimate job title, a recognizable job title with clearly defined hours and structure. Because what's going to happen is government's going to come for you and say, what does your son do? Why are you giving your son this salary? We have questions. Why? Let's say you as an individual make $1 million a year. You're in the highest tax bracket possible. So you're giving like half of your paycheck to the government. Let's say you get a paycheck for $10,000, cut that in half, give the government $5,000. That's how it works. Let's say you decide to hire your son and pay him $5,000 a month. Well, now you've cut your cash in half. For your $5,000, you're still cutting that in half. Now the government's only getting 25. Your son, who only makes 100, is in a lower tax bracket. Now the government's not getting that 5,000 they thought every month. They're getting only like 35 or 4. This is why you cannot just give money to your family and your kids unless you have outlined clearly in the documents, in your corporate paperwork and all of that stuff. It is not, I don't want to act like it's a difficult thing. I'm just saying, if there's no clear services rendered, it is not surprising that the bank staff guy was like, we should reevaluate working with this guy, because that clearly is going to put them in, like, this bank is probably like, they're going to file discovery on us. We're going to get investigated. Mm-hmm. This guy's clearly got illegitimate dealings going on. We can clearly see it.
Well,
So
he's required to
Right.
look for that
Exactly.
under federal law. There's all sorts. This is this huge thing.
And this is exactly why. So it is not so easy in business just to have money and give money away. First of all, you can't give money away. There's limits. There's tax. There's gift limits per year plus lifetime gift limits. If you hire family members and they don't have clearly defined titles that are recognizable and they're not being paid a market competitive salary, they are going to come after you. It's wild. Look, you start a business and all of a sudden you're a Republican. That's what they say, right? And the reason why these Democrats don't understand, they think it's because of taxes. I'm like, it's not just that. It's like you might want to pay someone a premium, and now you've got to argue why you're paying someone a premium. Oh, this guy's really, really good at his job. He should get paid more. And then they're like, you're paying him 40% above market. Why? We want to know why that money is going to him and not to us. And that's the kind of stuff they could go after you whenever they feel like it.
Like, I don't want to do the whole, conservative, imagine if the shoe was on the other foot thing. But I should point out that Donald Trump is currently on trial for fraud in New York State. And none of the banks filed any reports like this whatsoever.
No, they're defending
against
him.
him.
Yeah, didn't Deutsche Bank just come out and say like this was normal?
In fact, it's been the exact opposite, and they
all got
defended
paid
him
back perfectly
because
well.
they paid back with profit, and that's why the banks were willing to continue to do this. And yet we have another situation here where the banks were raising red flags, were filing potential fraud reports, and nothing seems to happen.
Well, they're not supposed to be mad about the Bidens. You're only supposed to be mad about the Trumps. The
Well,
Bidens
so
are allowed to do whatever
this
they
is the
want.
3-tier system of justice.
Yep.
Right. And I heard you quote this the other day. That it's the 3 tiers, and I keep saying this over and over. So it used to be 2, now it's 3. Right. So tier 1, that's the elites. That's Hillary. That's if your last name is Obama, Clinton, Biden, Epstein at one point. You are fine, right? And well, until you're a loose end, like
Right.
Chauvin, for example, he's a loose end, so got to get rid of him. So
Well, he was never in their club.
That's no.
Yeah,
But I just mean loose ends. That's tier 1. You can do whatever you want for the most part. Then tier 2. So tier 2, this is like normal. You get pulled over for speeding, that kind of thing. That's your normie kind of law. That's your normal stuff. And then tier 3 is Trump and Trump supporters. And Trump supporters have a whole extra set of laws that maybe you were just walking through the Capitol on your way out of the Capitol.
That means you get beat over
and
the
then
head.
You get beat in the back with a baton by the police, even as you're complying with their orders.
Or how about you're a married couple who shows up an hour and a half after people were already leaving.
Mm-hmm.
You have no idea what's going on. There's no signs. There's no cops. There's no barriers. You walk up and look around and then leave, and they accuse you of all of the same crimes and sentence you to a year in jail. That happened. I met some of these people. I met them at a restaurant, and they said, Hour and a half after people had already left and all that was done, they walk up and there's the building, doors open, no barricades, no signs, nothing. There's they're not anywhere near any of the fighting or broken glass, and they walk up and they're looking around and they wave and then they say, okay, whatever, and then they leave. And then next thing they know, 6-7 months later, they're getting served for criminal charges for having just walked around in D.C.
Shout out to
Wild.
Owen Schroyer, who's currently behind bars, who didn't even go into the Capitol
and was at a permitted rally. But doesn't matter.
But they just brought up all of his posts. This is what they're saying. You think the wrong thing, you say the wrong thing, you're in trouble, and we want you to be behind bars.
But I want to stress, in the 3 tiers of justice, a slight correction. The first tier is, as you described, but the second tier is you own a bodega and a guy comes in and smashes everything and the cops don't show up for any reason. So that means you're in this no man's land. The laws aren't enforced against you and they won't be enforced for you. Then you have the bottom tier of being the Trump supporters and the MAGA people, where you're not getting, you could be swatted 15 times in a year, ain't nobody going to help you.
Nope.
And you fart in public and they're going to lock you up.
Yes. This is so in the Russian Civil War during the Bolshevik Revolution, when the Bolsheviks first got in power, the idea was, and Libby, we were chatting on this before we got here, and if you read Always with Honor by Pyotr Wrangel, who was the general that fought against the communists, I actually got to visit his grave in Belgrade a couple weeks ago. It's just amazing. And it's right in this little alcove in a church, and it's not marked or anything before you go into the church, but everybody knows that that's General Wrangel. And his estate is completely refused, even now after the fall of the Soviet Union, to have his body transferred back to Russia, because that's where he wanted to go, because that church specifically is dedicated to the Russian imperial family, the Romanovs.
Oh, wow.
And that's from his perspective, he was fighting for the rightful rulers of the country and as a patriot. And so he said in this memoir that at one point that if you were a criminal who was caught with a knife, well, the criminal doesn't know any better. He's responding to socioeconomic factors that are out of his control. It's not his fault that he's lashing out this way. Society has wronged him. We must take care of him. We must help him and put him back on the street. But if you get caught with a knife, if you get caught with one, even if you haven't used it yet, now you're a criminal. Now you're a domestic terrorist, and you must be treated as an enemy of the state. So 100 years ago in Russia, this is exactly what they were doing.
Yeah. And also, because I've been looking at the Gulag Archipelago, which I know a lot of people have been talking about lately. But Solzhenitsyn talks about when he was in prison at the Lubyanka, which I don't know how you spell that, but whatever. When he was in prison and he was being interrogated and everything.
You spell it in Russian, by the way.
You spell it in Russian. Yeah.
Cyrillic.
I would never do that right. But he talked about how people would come in and they would be interrogated and they would mention a former colleague who maybe they had been friendly with. And then the next thing they know, that former colleague is getting dragged in and being interrogated. And it's just this perpetual guilt by association, even though there hasn't been any guilt at any point. You know, Solzhenitsyn was dragged in while he was serving in the military, and he was dragged in for, crimes. And it turned out that his biggest crime was that he had an old friend who was on the front lines of the opposing side, and they were sending each other letters. They were still friendly.
He was communicating with the enemy.
Right.
Do you think
That's
awareness
what that
of
was.
the multi-tier justice system is strong enough to affect how people are going to vote? Do you think that people who are on the fence have seen what's happened to the people involved in January 6th and will say,
I hope so.
No, January 6th.
hope so, but do you think?
It's not January 6th. It's that a bodega worker got stabbed, or they were trying to kill him and he stabbed a guy and they lock him up. That there was a family, this was a big story. Looters came in and just destroyed everything for no reason. And the family's life and savings were wiped out. They lost 20 grand in product. Regular people are experiencing that. Anarcho-tyranny.
Yeah. Or when you go to the store and you can't buy anything without searching around for someone to unlock a cabinet and there's nobody working and it's just a self-checkout. And everyone's just getting high in the back.
My favorite is in Chicago, the Walgreens, where there's no products.
It's just little signs.
It's it's a big empty room with a terminal, and you walk up and type in what you want, and then after you pay, someone will walk out and carry the product to you.
Interesting.
Yeah, crazy.
That's sort of like how grocery stores used to be.
Actually,
my great grandfather had a grocery store in Brooklyn, and it would be he would be behind the counter, and my great grandmother, and people would come in and say what they wanted, and they would bring them the stuff.
You know what that is? That's a form of rationing.
Yeah.
That's actually a form of rationing.
It sure is.
It's not just against shoplifting. That's if Soviet Union Tanya Tay will tell me that she remembers not from when she was like a little older, but when she was younger, that if you wanted to go to the store, that you had to get your ration stamps, and then you went to the store and you waited in line and you waited and you waited and you waited and you kept waiting. And then eventually, if you had the specific stamp for, as you say, the item that you were looking for, then you handed it to the worker, then they would go into the back, then they would get it, then they would bring it out. Because people don't understand that in Eastern Europe, in Russia, in Belarus, Ukraine, after the fall of the Soviet Union, it was a complete wild, wild west free-for-all for almost a complete decade.
Yeah.
And crime and like actual highway robbers, like we say highway robbery, but like actual highway bandits, that was a huge thing. You would get some of that stuff, and some people would gang up on you right on the outside. So you had to go in members. So when society collapses and you are inside of it, all sorts of horrible things happen. I remember covering the Freddie Gray riots, and it was like everybody knew that at a certain time, like it's all just going to go
Have
away.
you ever had the Eastern European wafer cake?
Which kind? Oh, like the one, like the full cake, the layers.
So it's wafer,
Yeah, all the time.
sweet condensed milk, layer, sweet condensed milk. And when I was in Ukraine, they told me, well, what happened was they had no flour. You have nothing. So what do? When your guests are going to come over, you boil in condensed milk, and then you put a thin wafer, you pour some on it, you put another wafer on top, you pour another layer, and that's how you make a cake to have, but it's literally just condensed milk.
Yeah,
on wafer.
Tany's mom makes that for
It's
like
good,
special
though.
occasions. It's really good.
Yeah, I know.
It's like all sugar.
But it's interesting.
Yes.
It's like something for special occasions that was an adaptation to the times that they were in, right? I mean, I think about how
guys,
many.
Kissinger died.
Yeah.
Whoa!
It just passed in the chat here. So.
Really?
He didn't pass in the chat, but they just mentioned it. So
He was in our chat when he
I'm
died.
sorry, Hannah Claire. I
was
shouldn't have
in our-
interrupted you.
Oh, I was just gonna say. I mean,
Let's get it, ladies and gentlemen. Huge news right now, 8:45 p.m. breaking. Henry Kissinger, who shaped world affairs under two presidents, dies at 100. If we were on the members only show, I'd have a lot more to say.
Yeah.
But we'll save it for the members only show. I have a special statement for everybody when we start the members only show. But for now, we'll keep it professional. So, Jack, you were saying?
No, I was going to say there was an interview that he gave recently, kind of on the heels of one of these summits, where he was you could tell that it was sort of like on the way out in the interview itself. And you could see him being very self-critical in this interview. And, let's keep in mind that for all of his work during the Cold War, this was also a guy who was one of the main architects of globalism and the current system of that globalism. And, he came out and basically said, maybe we got it wrong and maybe we shouldn't have pushed for all of this open border stuff. Maybe we shouldn't have pushed for this migration
not have,
stuff.
yeah.
Maybe we should have realized that countries do have security concerns, and the John Mearsheimers of the world he didn't say all this, but it's clearly what he was referring to, because you could see that he was reflecting, I think, on and I remember I was at Davos where in 2022 where Kissinger came up and gave this huge speech blaming NATO for the NATO expansion on the war in Ukraine. And it was suddenly like, wait, Kissinger of all people is coming out saying these things. And it's almost like, it's like towards the end, as he can see the light fading, him kind of going back and maybe re-examining some of his steps and realizing that they probably weren't the best moves.
You know the meme where it's death playing the crane game?
It's the first thing that popped in my head.
And he keeps going.
Literally the first thing that popped in my head.
He's like, Norm Macdonald, is Henry Kissinger even in this thing? Well, now someone can finally make it of him just going, Kissinger, got him. That's it.
So what do you think Norm's going to say to Kissinger when they meet?
Dude, I can't believe it. This guy was so evil, man. Henry Kissinger, a scholar, a statesman, and celebrity diplomat who wielded unparalleled power over U.S. foreign policy throughout the administrations of Nixon and Gerald Ford, who for decades afterward, and a consultant and writer, proffered opinions that shaped global politics and business, died November 29th at his home in Connecticut. He was 100. Look, I never liked celebrating death. People dying is always bad. I wish he wasn't such a nasty, nasty guy. I can say, however, regardless of however you feel about it, the world will be better off, unfortunately. I'm trying to be very nice, but there's just some people I cannot. He's a bad guy. He's a very, very bad guy.
There's this article.
He's got quotes that will that will make you throw up, this dude.
Yeah.
There's this article from Indy 100 that says the "Is Henry Kissinger Dead" Twitter account is tired of waiting for him to die. This is from 2022. And they were like, we didn't think this would be such a long-term commitment, which I think is kind of funny. I think there were a lot of people who were not expecting this, but I don't know. He
Here it is.
Yeah.
Is Henry Kissinger, did Kissinger die?
10 minutes ago.
And no, still no. And then 10 minutes ago, yes.
Already up to 12,000 retweets, and he's been doing it for 2 years.
Man,
That's
so funny.
wild, man.
Wow. There you
Look,
go.
dude, he's an architect for so much foreign policy garbage, foreign intervention, nation building, disgusting racist comments. I mean, this dude is just, I could not imagine when I look at these serial killers and these really evil, nasty people who do really evil things, I'm like, yeah, there's real evil in this world. When I look at Kissinger, I'm like, but he was smarter about how he went about the awful things he did so he could maintain power while he did it.
Mm-hmm. Look, I mean, so you got a guy who came up with and executed the theory of rapprochement with communist China, with Chairman Mao, right? So he flies over, because remember, people don't realize is that people know that Nixon went over. Yeah, there's the meme finally.
Oh, there it is.
So people know that Nixon went over to kind of open up China. Nixon goes to China, and this is what peels China away from the Soviet Union, and eventually leads to winning the war. Well, Kissinger not only was the architect, Kissinger actually went there first,
right? That's
and
true.
met with Zhou Enlai in a secret trip that nobody knew about to kind of pave the way for Nixon going there. Yeah. And so, Tim, to your point, it takes a very cold, just unemotional, unfeeling mind to come up with the idea of, I'm going to sit down with Chairman Mao, probably one of the most murderous men to ever walk the face of the earth, but it's going to help us politically.
Because they look at us like chickens. Mm-hmm. We are just chickens to lay eggs for them to harvest. So they're not thinking about you and your family, the pain and suffering you go through. They don't care about what happens to your friends who died mysteriously in their sleep. They don't want to answer any of those questions, and they don't care. That's why these people are disgusting and evil. These are the sociopaths who fight for political power, gain political power, and this is the corruption we need to weed out of our government, and we can do it, and I think we're winning, and I'm happy to see it. Every day there are more and more victories. And every day there are more and more signs that we are headed towards something better.
Yeah.
So I'm glad. Again, I don't like ever, no matter who it is, having a celebration of some death, because the reality is the dude should have been a better person. Life is precious, even someone as awful as him. But you have to recognize sometimes there are people that cause too much destruction, and so at the very least we can be like, well, I'm not going to cheer for his death, but I am going to be like, the world is going to be better off without his foreign policy ideas and all that.
Yeah.
His Trump
but the legacy of anything
yet.
is still there, right? Even if he's dead, the impact of the decisions he made will still feel.
It's true, but I'm hoping we get a good Trumpian statement where he was like, sad day hearing Henry Kissinger died. He was a great man who did atrocious things and evil, and and
he never support. Well, knowing Trump would be like, and he never supported me. he never once came in, And my favorite all time one of Trump responding to someone's death, which of course, obviously the RBG one is now just it has become its own thing. It's actually overshadowed anything that Ruth Bader Ginsburg did in her entire life. Is Trump's reaction to the news of her death.
Right.
And but there's right after Trump got elected, and Tim, as you say, sort of the psychic energy, as Jung called it, the world spirit. This idea that what's the phrase? The unconscious, the collective unconscious.
The collective unconscious.
The collective unconscious. That he is my fourth show of the day. That when Trump is right after he was elected, before he was inaugurated, Castro dies. And then everyone's, coming to him like, oh, Mr. President-elect, Castro's dead. He's passed away finally. It's like, you want to come up with a formal statement and, put out something, very magnanimous as the president. And Trump just picks up Twitter and goes, Fidel Castro is dead.
Yeah. I was going to ask, wasn't Kissinger just in China recently? I feel like I just saw news. It can be like a couple days ago.
How could he possibly be in China? He's 100 years old.
Yeah, there was something about him. I read it.
Just
maybe
his ghost is there?
Does anyone?
I'll look it up.
I don't recall.
He could have been at the ASEAN summit.
ASEAN,
Which was in San Francisco.
I saw that he was in China. I don't remember what it was exactly, but he had something to do with.
He traveled back and forth. So he set up a foreign policy
Obviously,
shop.
he did a lot.
Yeah.
That was very.
July 2020, July 22nd, 2023.
Right.
Kissinger
I
meets
forget
with
what it
top
was,
Chinese
but I saw him in the
officials.
news a while ago. I don't remember what it
Yeah,
was.
he's been going back and forth to China ever since. The
for a long
1970s.
time.
Yeah,
For a
like
very
he was
long
first, and he kept doing it over and over and over. And so, I mean, if you want to talk about someone who's been, just at the forefront of the U.S.-China relationship since it began in the modern era with Chairman Mao and the Chinese Communist Party, that's Henry Kissinger.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously someone who and I'm going to be actually flying to Japan tomorrow, so I'm speaking at CPAC Tokyo on Saturday. So I'm sure this will be kind of cast a different angle on a lot of the topics that we discuss, because when we're really looking at the system that we have now, the relationships, even the multilateral alliances that the United States has in East Asia, the security alliances, it really was Kissinger who played a huge part in setting this all up.
I just messaged Cassandra. She was like, "What's going on? What did I miss?" And then she just said, "I just screamed."
Cass.
The people who hate war are like, wow. Well, I trying to be very professional. The people who hate war are probably jumping up and down and dancing on their tables right now.
Why?
Because
The people who hate-
Kissinger's
the people
dead.
who hate
Because
war.
Kissinger's
all
dead.
people.
I heard the reverse thing.
Yeah, the
somehow.
tankies
People
are
who
like
hate war.
Yeah.
the
people who hate
tankies
war.
went like full. All right, it's past 9. The boys probably the tankies are like fully orgasmic right now. Fully.
Yeah, that's wild, man. Seeing Trump win was. We were talking about this earlier, actually. What everybody remembers the day. Everyone remembers where they were when Trump won.
Mm-hmm.
It was wild, right?
Oh, we were talking about that. Yeah.
Everybody was crying. I was hanging out with Cassandra, and Cassandra was crying, but she was crying for a different reason. She was crying tears of joy. Everyone else in the room was like sitting there covered in sweat, and a bunch of them were legit bawling. It was wild for me to see adults cry over an election like this.
I thought that was crazy
I was
too.
laughing.
I mean, because the thing too is, it's like we've been through a number of elections, and it's like, okay, now we have a different president. I wonder how this one's going to go.
Yeah.
I remember talking to people in the theater community at the time, and everyone was miserable, and they were crying, and they were sad, and they thought it was literally the end of the world. And I was like, well, why don't we wait and see what he does? Anything's
because he's
possible.
bad.
Like anything's, yeah, but they're all bad. I mean,
That's the thing. But there was a specific fear and hatred
like
whipped up
Clinton
around
was
Trump.
bad, Bush was bad.
I mean, this is like what I
Obama was
remember. I
bad.
think I was living. No, I wasn't living in Connecticut when I was still in Texas when Trump got elected, and so there were people. I was in college, and there were people who were so excited. I remember one of the fraternities got in trouble for hanging a Trump 2016 banner out of their door. They had to take it down. I think got a fine or something. Then there was all of these different social justice organizations being like, we stand together, they will not divide us, whatever. They were allowed to do whatever they wanted. I mean, there was a complete divide in hysteria because it was totally built on the emotions of these people who felt as though their lives personally were threatened, as if Donald Trump would come down their chimney and personally
Meanwhile,
be
he
mean
had
to
the
them.
first gay cabinet member.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like,
First
okay.
president
I don't
to
know
openly
that
support gay
any
marriage.
Yeah.
right. I don't know that there is anyone who was afraid of Trump in 2016 who had accurate information on
I mean,
him.
I was up in New York. I was at the party. That was pretty
Right.
baller. That was definitely one of the best nights.
I was at the Sputnik office because that's where Cassandra had worked. At
Yeah,
the time.
yeah.
And they kept saying that Russia was supporting Trump, and I'm like,
I
dude,
remember her
everybody
saying this.
in this building was for Hillary, and when Trump won, they were losing it. It was wild that night. I just never forget when the New York Times had that probability meter that was like greater than 99% for Hillary, and it slowly started to move. I remember when it hit 50%, and people started being like, no.
It was so
Cassandra's
good.
sitting there like, oh my God. And then I remember when it was greater than 99 for Trump, and there was a lot of crying. But Cassandra was the only one crying tears of joy.
Yeah, I remember watching it at whatever after midnight, and they're some Democrat I knew was being like, well, but Pennsylvania maybe, and everyone else is like, no, it's over. It's over. It's over.
So that night, that day, I had been working and doing live streams all around Philadelphia, and actually ran into James O'Keefe at one point. Like a funny story about that. Maybe we'll reveal it sometime. But
do it now.
I'd want to talk to James first.
If it's so funny, just tell us live right now.
Well, because he was in the middle of doing one of
You
his
instigator.
things, so I don't
Yeah, I
want
know.
to. I don't want to break his OPSEC, so I'm not going to do that. But
I'm a middle child. What can I say?
we realized that I remember I was driving around looking for the different, so like the after work rush in Philly. So that was when you would really get your major Philadelphia vote out, would always come in the after work rush. So usually when people vote on election day, you get, it comes in 3 tranches. This is before, this is like when we actually had like real elections,
Right.
not like the crazy,
What a quaint time.
the crazy gaga that we have now that we call an election, which is really just a ballot counting
And in
exercise.
Philly, you're pulling the levers.
Yeah, so this is early morning, so pre-work, then lunchtime, then there's a huge dead time, and then there's the after work rush. The after work rush never came. I went to North Philly, I went to West Philly, I went to South Philly, just never happened. And I said, Philadelphia doesn't have a rush. Trump's going to win Pennsylvania. Trump wins Pennsylvania, he's going to be the president. So I drove to 30th Street Station, bought a ticket right at the spot, or on the spot, up to New York, straight to the party.
Nice.
Let's jump to this story. Let's get a little political here. It's from SCNR.com. Black Lives Matter leader who endorsed Trump tells Fox News the Democratic Party is not for us. Will we get, let me just, we'll throw it back. We'll go back in time. The meme war was so much fun.
It was.
Just all the memes were hilarious.
Excuse me, will be fun because Elon has just declared a new one.
It's ongoing.
And that's my point. This is what I bring up.
Yeah.
With a Black Lives Matter leader saying, you know what, the Democratic Party's not for us. Trump is winning. I should say he's improving among younger voters, among Black and Latino voters. Joe Biden's just in a horrible position. And I have no idea how they could reasonably swap out Joe Biden at this point. Are we going to have a resurgence of 2016? Is it going to be the great meme war, the jokes, the Trump debate style?
I think that would be great because that really got people excited. It got people excited and thought that everyone was on the same team, And I wasn't part of it at all, but it did look fun at the time.
From the outside?
It did look fun from the outside. And you could kind of get the sense that something was coming and you weren't expecting it.
I don't know
and
anything
then
about
boom,
meme magic.
There
I don't
you
know
were.
anything about the meme war. I never had conversations with Ricky Vaughn or Conrad Stump or any of those
Oh, you weren't
guys.
involved at
I
all.
was definitely
Jack's
not,
a general.
not in any way involved in memery.
Jack's a serious pillow salesman.
I am but a humble pillow merchant. And Claire, I just want to make sure that I've been looking at your screen throughout the evening. And
Creep?
I don't know what Creed. Did you say Creed?
Hunter
Is that
Biden
Creed?
Chinese payment?
Yeah, and it
Creep?
just doesn't seem to be the mypillow.com website.
You must not be a very good salesman.
I'm so concerned
if I
of
haven't
all the
bought one
sales.
by now.
I'm so concerned
known you
about
for
all the
these
sales that
years.
you might be missing when your order. You have to get it delivered in time for the. I just don't know why you're not doing this.
Christmas.
Yeah, only we had a good pillow merchant in the room to convince me to buy something.
But isn't it actually really wild how hard they went after a guy who sells pillows? It's like, is this your biggest threat, dude?
But his reaction to them calling his pillows lumpy was
that was
the best one.
amazing.
I mean,
He's like, how dare you? Don't call my
that was the real
pillows
insight.
lumpy.
That's
Shove
when
it
they
up your
attacked his integrity of his product, which
It's a big
I
deal.
honestly respect,
I do too.
everyone in the world respected that. Because I even saw people in like Silicon Valley retweeting that, saying like, never attack a founder's business.
Right,
Like,
right.
Never do this.
in your lumpy pillow.
Like, you're lumpy, you're an asshole. Like, and just lights up, just lights the guy up, just
Yeah.
goes, and especially because he's known as like, and I talked to Mike, right? Like he's legitimately one of the nicest guys. He's an extremely devout Christian. I mean, he will straight up, like, if you need so, I've heard him say, he said this publicly, so I'll just say it. He'll straight up say, like, if you get stuck somewhere or if you want to come to an event, he will send a private jet for you.
Wow.
Like,
Wow.
anywhere. If you truly need it and you're trying to get somewhere and you're in a bind. Like, I've heard him do that for people so many times, and even people that aren't in politics, that's just someone he knows that is trouble. He's like, oh, send the jet, don't worry about it, everything will be fine, and he'll just do that, and then just I don't know how he just takes up the price.
We need to make sure the younger generation that wasn't. I mean, look, it's going to be 2024, so it's nearly 10 years since the 2016 race. It'll be 8, and there's going to be a lot of early 20s Gen Z people who are not old enough to have seen the meme magic. And
beautiful times.
but really, I'm not making
Okay,
a joke.
so-
real
so
quick. People need to,
2020.
real quick. People need to understand this. Meme magic was a reference to the very strange occurrences that happened online where memes. So on 4chan, for instance, when you make a post, you get an ID number, and weird things would happen with numbers lining up in certain ways. It was it's just wild, the serendipity and the coincidence around people posting memes and how weird things start to coincide with the posts.
Well, and not just the post, but the way that it actually affected and influenced reality. And so had an influence on the real world. Hillary's health, I think, probably was one of the biggest ones of these. We started hashtag Hillary's health, and we kept saying there's something wrong with her. There's something wrong. And at the time, she was like,
was that before the 9/11 incident thing, or like
just getting that? So do you want to hear the story or not, Serge?
Hey, I mean, I was there.
I want to hear the James O'Keefe
lines,
story.
brother.
Yeah, maybe in the third hour. Boom. or maybe at AmFest, also promo code Poso, which I hear Tim will.
Yes,
said that publicly yet?
I believe we're confirmed for AmFest.
Yeah.
Wait, do you have any guests for AmFest, Tim?
I don't know if we're allowed to say it. Are we?
I got a text that said to go ahead and say it. So
oh,
if you
okay, yeah,
want to,
Tucker Carlson.
So Timcast, Tucker Carlson
live
will
on
be
stage.
live on stage.
Yeah.
Amfest.com. Get your tickets now. Do not come crying to me when the thing is sold out, which happens every single year. One of these things, people go, "Oh, Poso, can you get me in? Get me a couple tickets, a couple of comps, man. Like, I know you got the hookup. I know you know Charlie. Like, I ain't doing it. Like, I'm just straight up not doing it." So yeah, Charlie. I think I know Charlie's going to be on. This is the on stage. So you're bringing the show out, right?
The show is going to be on stage at AmFest, and our guests, I believe, are Tucker Carlson and Charlie Kirk.
Yes.
It's going to be awesome.
That's going to be
so
great.
that's you're doing it. Patrick Bet David. I know Tucker's going to be broadcasting from there. Bannon's War Room. I'm going to be doing my show. Charlie's doing his show. Patrick Bet David is going to be also live streaming from there. He's not just appearing. He's also going to be doing live. So like you're going to get the Valuetainment. Like,
dude, those guys are awesome. I love DVD.
It's just everybody. I think it's literally just everyone's.
The post millennial will be there. We're going to have a booth.
Post millennial's got a booth.
We're going to have a bunch of people out.
Imagine not going to AmFest.
It's not easy to do. Like to get doing a show on stage like this requires a lot.
I remember last year it was wild.
Yeah,
it was definitely wild.
And so we have to, as soon as the show wraps, we're on a jet right back because we got to do the show Tuesday. I got to do the morning show too. But when we were talking and we said we want to do a big show, they hit
well, if
us
you get
up.
in trouble, I know a guy.
He's got a jet.
You have to buy a lot of pillows. I heard.
The whole jet is covered in pillows,
AmFest, they're taking care of us. They're helping take care of everything. It's fantastic, and so I'm really excited for this. They were like, let's get Tucker on stage.
Should be cool.
It's gonna be
because I feel like Tucker coming on the show is a long time coming. I feel like a lot of people have wanted to see the mashup.
Yeah,
well, they used to be at the exact same time.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So you couldn't. I mean, there was no way to make that work.
Yeah.
We were.
Tim couldn't go on Tucker. Tucker couldn't go on Tim.
But after he left Fox, we actually, I don't know. I think our people reached out. And it was oh yeah, for sure, we'll figure it out. And then we just never did. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing that happens with Trump. We get we had Laura Trump on the show and she's like, yeah, of course, let's make it happen. I'm like, cool. And then we just never do it. And so I'm like, I don't know. I kind of feel like when we have Trump on, it shouldn't just be us pursuing it for the sake of pursuing it. It should be like at a time where it really matters.
Speaking of which, so I did actually discuss this speaking of AmFest, I did discuss this with Charlie earlier. And, we were kind of going through because I knew there were some names that haven't come out yet. So on Trump, no news yet. No news, yes or no. Leaning towards, I mean, come on.
He really ought to come.
I would say it's probably likely.
He gets a hero's welcome.
But no news. Vivek is confirmed. Chris Christie, just total no response.
He just didn't say anything.
No response. And again, like Turning Point reached out to every single Turning Point Action.
But Chris Christie just the other day on the news was saying how his campaign was really picking up steam.
No, it was picking up cream. Actually, it was
was that what it was?
That was the
From
he was at Krispy
yeah,
Kreme. Yeah,
I
that was
got
picking
you.
up cream.
That makes more sense.
So no, you must have heard of this, or maybe he misspoke. Mm-hmm. So Nikki Haley, probably not. Ron DeSantis, Governor Ron DeSantis. Again, because the offer went out everywhere. So
DeSantis is coming now.
It's the opposite. So there was a conversation that was being held. The conversation is now over. From what Charlie told me, just prior to the show to now, Ron DeSantis will not be attending AmFest.
He found out I was coming.
That's his second Turning Point snub.
After I just described every single entity, organization, group, all the hottest podcasts in the entire country are going to be there.
But their heights are publicly known. So
many of one of which he was just on. Many of which are from Florida. He has decided to decline to come to Turning Point yet again.
I think that's crazy too.
Which is the largest conservative grassroots event in the entire country.
He basically says
he's running
that
for president.
Yeah. And he doesn't like
and he's
the
going
base.
to debate a governor, tomorrow, right?
Yeah. And he doesn't
For
care
some
about the
strange reason.
He just keeps, it's like he keeps saying that he just doesn't care about the base conservatives in this country. He doesn't want their vote. He goes on all of the other networks.
Yeah.
He snubs Turning Point. Like, it's really crazy how he does that and thinks that people, what, does he actually think people are going to come around?
Well, so
and be like, oh, you won't show up. You won't talk to anybody. And
they keep saying that. And it's very strange to me. It's perplexing because I've been at Turning Point events in the past where Ron DeSantis spoke, and this is prior to him announcing that he was running against Trump, but where he was given a standing ovation by the crowd. They loved him.
Yeah.
And I don't think it would be an unfriendly, hostile event in any way. That being said, it's a primary, bro. You've got to go into these things. But the perception of it is just so bad.
If
you
Ron,
look weak, you look terrified.
If he showed up, the response from the Trump supporters would be to shake his hand and say, I respect everything you're doing in Florida. I hope you understand why we're supporting Trump, but I think you're doing a good job. They wouldn't attack him. And that's his opportunity to make a case. You know what I think? I don't think he has an argument. I don't think he actually has formulated how he actually says you should vote for me over Trump.
He doesn't have one. He just says, I'm going to fight. I'm going to fight back. He'll make these odd sort of persuasions about personnel. Well, personnel is going to be key. Okay, but what's the argument, right? You've got a guy who's got just put my dirty political strategist hat on for a second here. You've got a guy who's got higher name ID than almost anyone in the entire world. Someone who's by far the most famous conservative on the face of the planet. So explain to me then, when given all that, and oh, by the way, the majority of the party, because remember, you run in the party, then you run in the general, right? It's one, then the other. It's not straight to general. So they keep making these weird general election arguments, which are completely baseless, by the way, that only Ron DeSantis can win the general, which there's just no evidence
well, he
for
can't win the general if he can't win the nomination.
But I'm not even going to say half, the majority of the party feels that Donald Trump actually won the 2020 election. They feel that January 6th was about protesting a stolen election, and they want Trump to go back and finish the job. That's a really easy sell for a political candidate. If you've got someone who's arguing against that, it just comes across as really self-centered. It comes across as really selfish. And quite frankly, it comes across as politically stupid because he could have gone, and I said this so many times behind the scenes, all you had to do was say, Donald Trump has unfinished business and I'm going to be supporting him in 2024. Then regardless of what happened in that election, all of MAGA would remember that DeSantis had stood by the man who put him in the governor's mansion of Florida. Instead of running this insane betrayal of a backstabbing, raising millions of dollars, laundering it through the Republican Governors Association, putting it then into the governor's race in Florida, which was a non-competitive race, taking those millions of dollars away from competitive races all around the country. Democrats win. Then they blame that on Donald Trump. Then he rolls that same money, which was supposed to go to gubernatorial candidates, into his own presidential campaign. This is where Never Back Down starts, because they roll that over into federal. You can't go 1-to-1, but they brought most of it over, the bulk of it. And then claims all the time that he's just on a national book tour and he's not really
that was
running
so
for
fake.
president.
It was weird.
That really pissed me off too.
And so and all the while, remember, you chose this. Okay, you all chose this. You could have sat back and been handed the baton, the mantle of MAGA as the heir apparent, and literally walked into the White House in 2028.
But obviously there was someone
Trump
in his ear saying you don't want to be tarnished with that brush, right? There was someone who talked him out of seeing Trump and the potential role as an heir apparent as a good thing.
Look, you can say that what you want, but at the end of the day, I mean, he's his own man.
But
right?
wouldn't that be what the
And he's
implication
liable
was?
for
Because
his
they
own
had
decisions.
a somewhat positive relationship at one point, and then it was like, well, you could run for president now and challenge Trump, or you could wait 4 years and do it then.
The thing that gets
someone
me-
had to convince him that the timing was right now. To me, it seems like the argument must have been you don't want to be branded with the MAGA mantle. But what argument is that? Because we know the core of the Republican voters are MAGA. They do support Donald Trump.
The thing that gets me is that they don't recognize it as a betrayal. they think that it's just some sort of, oh, it's just a free for all. And, so anyone can run for president and it's fine. Excuse me? That you were a backbench congressman that nobody can, you don't even talk about your own accomplishments from when you were in the House because you don't have any. He was another guy at dinner when we were at Trump Tower or Trump Hotel in DC. And oh, by the way, that's right. You were eating dinner out of a building. On the front of it was the name of the man that gave you the ability because you were going to run again for Senate against Marco Rubio, but then Marco said that he was going to come back in. So you cucked out of that and said, well, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And then, because you didn't want to run against little Marco. So then you said, all right, well, I've got this infrastructure statewide. Maybe I can roll that into a governor's race. So you went and did that and you were about to lose to Adam Putnam. And then you came to Trump and then you begged and begged and begged. And they say, oh, I didn't do that. Yes, he did. He did. Yeah, he went and begged for the endorsement, and Trump was going to get behind Putnam because everybody thought that Putnam was going to be the guy. I was like, fine, we wanted a governor who could win. And remember, Florida was a 50-50 state back then. Andrew Gillum, right, the coke-addled sex fiend, came within.
That's right. That was a crazy story. They found him in a hotel room.
Came within just a few votes, like less than a percentage of becoming the governor of Florida. And if it was only for Donald Trump and only for the MAGA grassroots who went down there after the election using the slogan, and I'm just going to say it, Tim, I'm going to say it, hashtag stop the steal.
I thought you were going to say something else.
It's hashtag stop the steal to fight for Ron DeSantis. That put that over and won Broward County. And there's no recognition of any of that work. There's no recognition of those rallies. There's no recognition or even thanks for putting you there. It's, I'm going to run against you because I think I'm better. And now, yes, I'm sure there are people who, found some way to, use verbal judo to be able to say that it's not betrayal, but it is. And I'm sorry, it just is.
See, that makes me want to know who did it. Like, what part of the Republican donor class or what political operative was like, this is a great idea, we should do it. I wish that we could have a name because that would be interesting to know who twisted one political career because, Donald Trump has a lot to offer the country. He could only be president for 4 more years. Who is after
There is
him?
a darker potential read on that. Because, we were just talking about Kissinger, right? So who would want to talk someone into destroying their own political future by convincing them to do a political suicide run against the most famous conservative in a generation?
Somebody who wants the neolibs and the neocons to regain power and
bingo,
push them all out.
Right. So you incite a MAGA civil war.
Yep.
Which is exactly what happened.
That is what happened, yeah.
You pit MAGA against each other. You split them down the middle. And to be fair, like I actually expected DeSantis to run like a real campaign. I have no idea.
Right, he did not run a real campaign. It was so bizarre.
I mean, there are ways that you can drop bombs on Trump from the right, but they just never did. It never came. It was this weird like insinuation kind of thing. And then, they kind of started to now, but the attacks are like really weird and confusing and very like
cringe.
Yeah, they said he had a foot fetish. Like
right, that stuff is weird too.
Like
it doesn't make any
this is
sense.
the opposite of meme magic. So
yeah.
So it's a great example.
Because they can't run against
of,
his policies.
It's a great example of, so you were talking about meme magic before, and by the way, there's a whole other theory I have, and maybe it's more of a third hour theory, that the lockdowns in 2020 were actually designed to prevent meme magic from seeping back into reality. So meme magic was kept on lockdown. Because remember, right, all of
manifestation.
This, remember folks, never lose sight of the prize. We are in a time traveler chrono war with the globalists. That's what's really going on right now.
What do you mean?
Well, Steve Bannon.
Third hour.
Okay.
Steve Bannon is
Baron from the future.
That's right.
Who's been sent back to guide his father. There's a height differential with the time space continuum.
No, it's when you get older, you get shorter.
Exactly.
But Steve Bannon's actually pretty tall.
He's taller than average.
Yeah.
He's not 7'1".
I wouldn't
like
call
his
him
younger
tall.
form.
No, but I'm not saying like he's not like 5'6", 5'7".
No. But I mean, to be fair,
Barron's like 7 feet tall.
He's the man, but yes, Barron is enormous. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Well, but you
but so to my point though is that we never get the Civil War. So the Civil War, it starts, but then it stops. They have these completely strange attacks on him. They go and make these absolutely boneheaded political decisions, like agreeing to debate a guy who's not even running for president.
Right. What's up with that?
And
That's so
platforming
weird.
him, which only has upside for Newsom, right?
There's no upside for DeSantis.
There's no upside for DeSantis.
Because if he
and plenty of
loses, he
potential
looks
downside.
really bad. And if he wins like he's supposed to.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Supposed to, and he's
It doesn't
I got
matter.
somebody who's not running.
Yeah.
Right, getting him to agree was all Newsom needed. So now suddenly Newsom's got people talking about him as a presidential candidate, which plays into his interests in the Democrat shadow primary that's going on right now,
Right.
because they want Biden to drop out. They want him to do this. Jill won't let it happen because, man, it was rough, dude. You could see Biden looking at, like, giving the side eye to Jimmy Carter, right, at that funeral yesterday, and you could tell that he's looking at him going,
I also want to be in hospice. You're right.
Well, it's rough knowing that that's right. What's right around the corner. You know what I mean? Like it's rough seeing it and being confronted with, because deep down he knows, right? He knows that's.
Well, he's got the dementia shuffle going
folks.
on.
He's not getting better, right?
What did he say? Trump was a congressman?
It's earlier today.
Yeah, he said something like Trump was a
about
congressman.
His Christmas tree fell over. It's a sign that everyone thinks he can't make it, including the universe.
There were even reports early on after
Don't blame the Christmas tree, though.
After October 7th.
It's a symbol of his administration. It's not great.
That Biden was confusing Hamas and Russia and like the Israel-Ukraine situations.
He's tired.
Confusing Ukraine and Iraq for years.
Ukraine, Iraq. Yeah,
It's
and
hard
so
to keep these things straight,
couldn't
especially when you
brief
can't
him
remember anything.
on what was going on, because he would say, "Well, why would Putin do that?" And they're like, "Putin didn't invade Israel. Like, how would he do that?
Come on, man, we got to bomb
There's all these other countries in the
Liechtenstein.
way."
We gotta bomb
And it's just bad. It's just so bad. But the one thing that's sad to me is that I look at the Republican Party, and you look at a guy like Ron DeSantis, who at one point, what I think everyone considered to be just a rising star, someone who had an incredibly bright future. And then you look at these guys, like I said before, like Lil Marco, like Scott Walker, Tim Ryan, Tim Pawlenty, T-Paw. Anyone remember T-Paw? You guys wouldn't even know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah,
There
I
were
forgot
all
about
these
him.
young guns out there who were going to be like the next heir apparent to the party that are just complete nobodies now. And it's like, good job, dude. Like, you decided to troll yourself.
But
into
this
irrelevance.
was a conversation I kept hearing from a lot of people. I think I remember Ben Shapiro saying it in particular, like, with DeSantis, they said either you run now or you lose your moment. You don't know that the momentum will be there in 4 years. And I think that tactic scares a lot of people into bad positions, right?
So that's insecurity. What that is that's insecurity. So you're saying that I'm not good enough on my own, and deep down you think that you're not good enough on your own. And so you have this insecurity that I need the trappings of power. I need the ability to be the governor while I'm running. Therefore, it doesn't matter that I can immediately after winning re-election from the voters of your state, then turn around and, by the way, not just betray Trump, but betray the voters of your own state, your own electorate, and say, I'm not going to stay here and serve the people of this state, who, by the way, have seen their insurance rates go up like insane. They're being hit by hurricane after hurricane just of insurance rates. Not only are you going to betray the guy that put you in office, you're going to betray the people who literally just voted for you to be their governor, and you're going to go gallivanting around the country running for president in a campaign that has completely no sense of itself and no
chance.
No chance.
and no reason for being.
So what do you think DeSantis should have done? Because he's term limited, right? He couldn't have run for governor again. What would have been like
endorse,
and
Just
then what would
endorse.
he have done in the interlude for the 4 years?
whatever you want.
But if he
Do
wants to
whatever you
stay in
want.
office, that's my thing. Like,
Why
I
do
think
you have to
people
stay
who,
in office?
Well, he could have been
I think
VP
power-hungry
too.
people have
He
to have
could
a
have
title.
been VP.
Yeah, he could have been VP.
Could he have? They're both
VP.
from Florida, though.
He could have been. Then one of them changes their residence. It's not that hard. Cheney did it.
And Trump's in Bedminster anyway, in New Jersey.
Well, he could have changed
But I'm
his
saying,
residence.
right, yeah.
I was gonna say it have to be Trump.
Yeah, or
It can't be.
he could be appointed secretary of whatever. He could have been attorney general. He could have been secretary.
Oh,
of
he would have
State.
been a good attorney general.
Yeah, he was
in fact.
he was
He
a
would've been
JAG
interesting.
officer.
He was a
He was a
JAG
JAG
officer,
officer,
yeah.
But it's interesting that they were just basically able
why
to
not?
scare him into, if you don't do it now, your career is over.
It made no sense. And I remember talking to, I'll just say DC people, DC insiders, who there was that same exact line. Well, he has to do it now. And, Christie missed his chance to run in 2012. We're coming off of the governorship, and you got to do it. You got to strike when the iron is hot. And it's like, read the room, man. Just read the room. And so that being said, I'm glad that this all happened this way, because if someone's political instincts are that bad, imagine if he was actually in the Oval Office. Right. Yep. Imagine if he's in the Oval Office and now he's got those people in his ear that are convincing him how to act, and they're saying, "Oh, you got to do it. You just got to bomb Iran. You just got to do it. No. You got to bomb Iran.
Strike while the iron's hot.
You got to strike while the iron's hot. They paid Hamas off. You just got to go." And there were people like Lindsey Graham who just, anything happens. And he's like, bomb Iran. Henry Kissinger died. Oh, bomb Iran. We just got to bomb Iran because they killed his Kissinger. No, he's 100 years old, Lindsey. Like, no, it's like the second
in his memory,
coming.
we have to do that.
Yeah, second coming of McCain in many ways. And then you get John McCain Heels, who is Nikki Haley, running, which I love, having Jamie Dimon come out for her at that same event. So it's like Wall Street basically just saying, yes, we fully support the military-industrial complex.
Yes.
Let's get it all back together. So the neocons keep trying to sort of like come back in. And to some extent, a lot of them lined up behind DeSantis as well. So I think you had a lot of these vested interests that were shut out of the Trump administration, and certainly didn't agree with Trump on foreign policy, absolutely didn't agree with him when it came to trade, certainly didn't agree with him when it came to immigration. And they saw Ron DeSantis as a sort of vehicle whereby they could push their own interests and their own agenda by potentially seeing if they could unseat Trump in the primary. And there was definitely an opening that DeSantis, I think, could have made it, maybe a little bit more competitive, but just the way that he conducted himself, it is going to be studied for years to come as just a complete debacle of a presidential campaign and a total misunderstanding of how politics works in the internet era.
Well, you brought up the book tour too, which I remember when that was happening, and you're just looking around going, he's running. Why won't he just say he's running? Why won't he just say he's running? And the people that surround him in this campaign have really advised him so poorly. They tell him to stay away from certain press. They tell him to go all in on other stuff. They're telling him to stay away from TPUSA. They came up with that ridiculous announcement on Twitter, which didn't make any sense because it was the most lackluster possible announcement. There were ways to make that work and be effective and fun and buoyant, and it just wasn't.
Well, and Libby, I'm just going to say it. They were lying to people. They were lying to people like crazy, saying that he wasn't running. He said he was, and he slipped
That's
up the other day.
They kept saying it.
He slipped up the other day on that Laura Ingraham interview where he said, back in 2022, I was the only candidate who said that we should have change at the RNC. And then he catches himself. I mean, I was the only one who became later a candidate who said that.
Is that what he said? Who became later a candidate?
Something along those lines.
That's ridiculous.
So he catches himself before she says something, and then he came in to correct it. But it was that classic Freudian slip where he knew that he'd basically just given away the game to say, obviously I was running for president. That's fine.
We're going to go to Super Chats. So if you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, share the show with your friends, and head over to timcast.com, click join us to support our work. If you like the show, you think we do a good job, we rely on viewers like you to run the company and expand and do everything we're doing. But we're going to have that members only uncensored show coming up at 10, and I have a special announcement at 10 for you in light of recent events. So I strongly encourage you all to be there and be ready for the beginning of the Uncensored Members Only show for that special announcement. Announcement, we'll call it that. All right. Kilted Carnivore says, not first again, despite the fact you are first, sir. You see, he's hedging his bet. He doesn't know if he's going to be first, so he says he's not. Then when he is, it's, oh, look, there I was actually
first. He has to have some more confidence. He can't be like DeSantis over here.
Yeah. You got to be a little more confident. Like Ridley Scott has this whole movie about how men shouldn't be ambitious, and it's called Napoleon, but it's not about the actual Napoleon. It's about a guy who thinks he's Napoleon, and so he's just constantly getting cucked by his wife, and then it leads him to more poorer and poorer decisions. Whereas the real Napoleon was someone who was increasingly confident and was willing to be that that man of destiny, as Hegel described him.
Yeah. All right. We got Alpha Turkey who says Disney should be awarded a defense contract after producing more bombs than Lockheed Martin. Hey, that's a good one.
Amusing.
Need drums in here so you can do the rim shot.
We have a cajon.
Oh, we do actually have drums here. That's true. Serge, get rim shot.
We'll have drums here for this Friday.
They want to do full band.
They do. Yeah,
wow. Okay, that's gonna be great.
Are you producing
I guess
on Friday?
we're doing I hope we can do the audio. I think I should work out. The Defiant is going to be here.
Yep.
So super excited.
Seriously?
Yeah, it's Dickie Barrett and Pete Parada.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna
Mighty
fly
Mighty
back
Boston.
from Japan just for that,
And then go back.
Go back.
Yeah,
for Saturday.
we're having him on the show. Pete Prada, of course, he's done drums for our music. He's super cool dude. Dickie Barrett, everybody knows. Come on, he's Mighty Mighty Boss Tones.
So are you guys like doing a show and then the last hours them?
And then at 10, they're gonna play some music, and we have this massive band setup. It's gonna be awesome. So I guess we're gonna have a full drum set.
Is it members only?
No. Live on YouTube.
Live on YouTube at 10.
Yep. And then what we're gonna do is when we book more and more musical guests for the end of the show on Friday night, we're gonna put those clips on the Trash House Records YouTube
nice.
to have this like library of music.
Awesome.
That's
And we'll
very
probably do other
cool.
special events. Super excited. I keep telling Phil like we want All That Remains, and he's like, yeah, we'll get it. And I'm like, come on, man, like we want All That
Can
Remains.
they do acoustic stuff? It has to
probably.
be an acoustic set. It's like a Tiny Desk concert that like NPR does, right?
They can do unplugged.
I mean, I guess the Defiant's gonna go full band.
Yeah.
And I mean, we definitely have the means to do it.
We just need more space.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just
that's
the,
all
the
it
new
is.
studio is bigger.
Yeah.
And so it'll be a lot easier.
I would pan
there's,
those cameras.
There's
but-
enough space there. There is.
There's enough for sure. I would pan to the cameras, guys, but they're off right now. So
We're just gonna have to move the cameras because the original setup was like 2 seats, acoustic set.
Yeah.
And they were like, we could do full band, and I'm like, all right, let's roll.
Carter's been overtime on it, but we'll get it done.
I was gonna say, are you producing or is Carter?
Carter will be here for the after show. We haven't really decided yet. We'll figure that out tomorrow. Yeah,
yeah, capturing all of that live sound is not gonna be easy.
it's a lot.
Yeah,
It'll work.
but I think we've got it easily. It's just Carter is really great at getting that music, so I think we'll be good. Let's grab some more. Andrew Lignall says YouTube won't let me write any variation of F after the word go. Super. I just wanted to cheer on Elon. Well, we got it in the title, I guess. I wonder if it negatively impacted the show.
And if you wagered
Weird.
Texas with a $sign.
Yeah. We'll grab some more super chats. Bricktop says, Jack, why do you always look so sad in photos?
He's a sad guy.
This is what not sad looks like.
Do that again. That is very un-Jack expression.
All right, T-Rex Pet Shop says, you know we're winning when the news lies about a Kansas Chiefs fan calling a kid racist, but he ends up being Native American. Must be embarrassing. They can't find racism. They have to lie about it. Yo, that story's so wild.
Just gets better and better every
This
day.
Native American kid wears a headdress.
His grandfather is like a chieftain.
Yes, like a tribal
an
council
actual-
leader.
Isn't his dad like on the Chiefs board or something?
Like he's
They're
an
deeply
actual
involved.
Yeah.
Kansas City chief.
Yeah.
Correct.
And they were like, he's racist for wearing half black, half red. And
And then they show the video of him doing the tomahawk with like a bunch of black guys.
the black team members are doing the chop with
Yeah,
the
the chop
kid.
with him.
And the kid's Native American and his grandfather is on a tribal government council. He's
That's
like,
right.
he's a chief.
Yeah.
Which
Dude,
I was gonna say, like
wild.
all the naming of American sports teams after Native American warriors, after Indian warriors, you know, it was supposed to be a mark of honor, as in
Yes.
these are incredible warriors. They're noble
aspirational.
warriors.
Yeah.
It's aspirational.
Tough.
You wouldn't
Yeah.
you wouldn't want to name yourself after like a loser or someone who's like it's always meant as a badge of honor.
What's the thing they do in New Zealand?
Oh, the haka.
A haka. Yeah, they got to stop that. It's
the
racist.
haka, yeah.
That thing is so cool when they do that. I love when they.
It's not
a
just
thing.
New Zealand. It's
Oh,
also
because
like
white people are
Tonga,
doing it?
et
No, I
cetera.
just think it's cool when they.
Yeah.
I mean, New Zealanders are
Libby
white.
was
That's
doing
the-
her haka the other day. We had to ask her
Was
to
it
stop
like-
politely. We asked
Yeah, I
her
was-
politely but firmly to stop the haka.
I was
Right.
I was reading about Maori fighters. 'Cause I was playing Civilization, and they were crazy.
Yeah.
European colonists struggled against them more than any other indigenous
That's why
population.
that's why there's a lot of Maori. Like,
That's right.
They didn't get rid of them.
And that's why I don't know the history, but something like often the Europeans conquered, and I think with the Maori it was like a ceasefire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Wild.
British were trying to take over New Zealand. They just couldn't really.
Yeah,
you know,
the
fully
Maori
win.
warriors were just like ain't
The
gonna
other
happen.
thing too
Right.
with the removal of Indian names and Indian symbols in America, with all of that removal.
They didn't do that in New Zealand.
No, we're doing it here though.
We are
and
trying,
what's
we're trying.
happening is that is basically going to spell the erasure
It's
of
erasure.
Indian
Exactly.
culture
Yeah.
from
Exactly.
mainstream culture, because we're not seeing a whole bunch of, indigenous Native American culture coming up. We're just destroying what has been there
They-
representing them.
They
In
took
the
away
name-
Aunt Jemima.
Yeah, I hate that
That's-
too.
Remember they used to
So
have the
offensive.
remember you used to like on the side. I remember big rigs, on the highway. They used to always have like an Indian chief on the door or on the hood or something.
Oh, those and the cigar store Indians.
Yeah, it was just a symbol that you would see around. It was never meant as like mocking. It was just Americana.
Yeah.
But we destroyed it because we're, progressive and we're good at understanding people.
Right, but we're not going to
it's-
fix the reservation
Right.
system.
No.
Right.
And
No.
apparently it's less racist to erase Indian culture from American culture than it is to honor it and see it.
Look at Land O'Lakes. They got rid of the Native American, but they kept the land.
And the crazy thing about that is it was a Native American guy who drew that picture.
Meanwhile,
Well, he
Cousin
was also self-hating.
Tease is now here to solve this problem.
He wasn't self-hating. He drew it as a point of pride. He loved it. He was so proud of his drawing.
But he was brainwashed, Libby. You don't understand
No,
because
no,
you're
no.
brainwashed
Oh
too.
my goodness. I'm not
Classic
even gonna stand for this.
post-millennial.
Totally ridiculous.
Look, we need to figure out how to get this anti-Times Square speeding up. I've got too many spinning plates. And so with what we're working on with the coffee shop, I'm like, we want to have this strip in Martinsburg be all of these parallel economy businesses. We got to figure out how to ramp that up. And
Yeah, because I want to come hang out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, we should have an Angel Studios movie theater. You know, it's like, how do we wrangle all these cats and say, guys, like, let's prioritize this. All the marketing runoff is pure gold for everybody. Like, your businesses will succeed next to another business. I was telling Jeremy, we'll have Michael Knowles' cigar shop. What is it?
I think you'd have to
Mayflower?
work with the companies
Michael
that are already
Knowles
there because
cigar
there
shop?
is a cigar shop in Martinsburg. It's been around forever. I think
Well, then
you'd
we
have
would-
to like get product there. You know what I mean?
Right, because the one rule is you can't disrupt the generational businesses. The generational business have to be reinforced. So the people who are like third or fourth generation in Martinsburg should be succeeding and expanding.
Yeah.
That's the goal.
But it'd be cool if the one that's there is the only place in town you can buy Michael's cigars. It might
Right.
drive traffic there, which would
Exactly.
be cool. There are ways to partner with it, I think.
That's right.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
All right. Shard Falcors Gaming says Cast Brew Instant Crosslands Coffee Crystals. We're working on Graphene Dream. That's Ian's signature blend.
I miss Ian. I miss him when I'm not
He's
here.
gone. He just ditched us.
I miss his Musk.
Became a cloud of graphene and drifted
I
away.
miss his
His aura.
His aura.
His
Yeah,
aura.
his
Well, we have
his
a
aura's
lot
still
of-
a little bit here. It's a little
We
bit
have
here,
a lot
but
of little Ian toys over
Little
here.
glass mushrooms.
Little glass mushrooms.
the
We've got
graphene is still here.
little rocks. There's
Dude.
graphene.
Infused with Ian.
He just
over
keeps
here
getting more and more
somewhere.
rocks. I mean, I got to be honest. I bought him a lot of these rocks.
What were you thinking?
He likes rocks, and so it's
Here's
like
the graphene.
if I'm- if
good for the growing boy to give him.
we go out and they're like, dude, a lot of stores sell rocks. I'm not kidding.
No,
for
there's
whatever
a-
reason.
My
That
son
makes
used to
Tim think of
collect
Ian.
rocks. I don't know what happened to that
yeah,
collection.
especially in this area.
You go to a gas station, they'll have bags of rocks.
Yeah.
And you'll be like, oh, I'll grab
Like
bag
a
of rocks.
gift.
Well, because you're in the you're,
That and
you're in
soap,
the
right?
Appalachians.
Right.
Yeah.
They like rocks out here. The rocks are good.
Well, I mean, that's what built this entire community is mining.
Let's read this one. DMZ Pro says, "Hey Tim, are these late night shows like Kimmel really getting millions of views on their YouTube videos in a day, or could the numbers be sus?" That's default. That's normies. And so the way it works is when you go to YouTube, like open a private tab and open up YouTube, and then guess what you're going to see? Congratulations. So I wouldn't say that people are enjoying the content, but people are certainly being force fed it.
It's like it's front loaded.
Yeah, and it's such BS because if you this is proof of, in my opinion, narrative collusion with big tech. I mean, there's a bunch of hard reasons, but come on. You have with Patrick Bet-David, with Steven Crowder, with Timcast IRL, insert any other organically grown podcast or show. And the math is simple. If someone made a show from the ground up on their own without external support, it must be good. If you are dumping millions into maintaining this show that is losing ratings, it must be bad. So why then does YouTube put them on the front page?
Well, and again, because if you remember that during the writer strike, all of them went off air and nobody noticed for a while.
Yep.
Right.
And then at one point they tried to launch like a joint. I forget what it was called. Do you remember what it was called?
Yeah,
Force
but
5.
it was
Strike
like
Force. this
Stephen Colbert.
ridiculous name.
Yeah, it was all of these.
where they all
lunatics.
came together just like this, and it was awful, and nobody watched it.
Yep.
And they were saying how any revenue would go to the writers who weren't getting paid because they were on strike.
So I
So
actually,
you felt guilty and watched out of sympathy.
I did not watch
I'm
it.
gonna-
at all.
Not you, but
Maybe others did.
I'm going to say I think the views may be fake in some capacity, or they're just like those websites where it says 25 photos of celebrities and you've never seen. And then when you load it, there's 800 ads. And then whenever you want to see the next photo, you got to click next. That's probably what the kind of views they're getting.
I get all my news from the Post Millennial, but after that, I get all my news from those click pages. I'm the guy who clicks on
Yes.
all of them.
I click
just,
on
but-
this too.
I just sit and click those all day
But
long.
here's the point I want to make. When
I hate
they
that I do
can't
that.
drive any kind of real influence, then they don't matter at all. Even if someone did watch, they're not having any impact on the individuals. Shows like this are. Patrick Bet David, Crowder, obviously. These are shows that are actually influencing people. And, we talked to, I think Matt Gaetz brought this up. He's like, man, it's so different. You go on Fox News and no one ever brings it up. You go on Timcast and everyone's like, oh, I saw you on Timcast.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because these shows are real people watching.
It's also, and this is the difference between active engaged viewership versus cable news, which is passive. So cable news is a passive viewership because it's on, but it's on in the background. So, my parents aren't like this, but if you were over your parents' house for Thanksgiving or your grandparents, you notice they just kind of always have a TV on that's just in the house.
Yeah.
And it's on and it's there and it's
white
filling
noise.
the background. Yeah, it's like white noise. And then you can kind of tell, what side of the political aisle they're on depending on what they're watching.
what the
if
white
it's-
noise is.
So if it's Fox or if it's CNN or it's NBC, MSNBC, like, you're really in for it if it's there. And so that doesn't mean, though, that they're sitting down and actively engaging in what they're listening to. And so, they might be on in whatever Nielsen X number of households, but that doesn't mean that, to Gates's point, that, okay, you're on in the households, but those households aren't necessarily paying attention. Whereas a show like this, a show like Human Events, a show like War Room, you've got to search that out.
Exactly.
And so you're going to be actively listening to it. This, of course, by the way, comes up a ton in podcast advertising, where they say, okay, it may not be as many viewers or listeners as cable news, but they're more engaged, which means your conversion rate's going to be higher.
Yep. So that's another big component is when people and we see this with our own sales with Cast Brew. It's the sales are way higher doing direct shout outs as opposed to buying ads.
That's right.
Let's read this one. We got Ryan Kirchmeyer says PBD had Chris Cuomo on. He sounded a lot like you. What happened and would you have him on? Did Patrick Bet David ask him about staging that fake COVID
When
thing?
he climbed out of his basement and said, I just came out of my basement,
So-
like right after he'd been at a party in the Hamptons.
No, he was at his house. He was at his property.
Right, but he had been at a party.
He was at a party before that?
Yeah, like-
I knew that he was at he was visiting
Wasn't it
his
a party?
Well, he was seen out.
He was
right? He was
seen
seen
about.
He was
Yeah.
seen on his property, which was under construction. So I'd love to have him on. And the first
And
question
he claimed
is,
he was quarantined the whole time.
why
That's the
did
point.
you fake being in quarantine during COVID? Were you told? First question. Then whatever he says, I'd direct an answer. And then I'd say, were you directed to do this by your superiors at CNN?
Yeah.
Maybe the guy would be like, yeah, we faked it. They told me to. I'd be like, wow. So if he wants to come on the show, I'd love to have him on. It'd be fantastic. And that's the first question I have.
I
for
think
him.
he generally said something more along the lines of, like, hey, there were a lot of things I did that I'm not proud of. So he made
did
some,
answer
like,
it.
he made some, like, no, he didn't ask the question directly, but there was like a general
But I mean, like PBD
sense.
Did PBD ask, why did you fake being under quarantine?
I didn't see that.
Yeah, I feel like we
Gotta
need
be
more
asked.
specific questions for this guy. Otherwise, he's going to give a lot of skating on
People-
the edge.
Like, I
general
get that he
answers.
wants to, right. So I get that he wants to be like, oh, I'm just a fair guy now. I'm not in the tank. Okay, that's fine. But you need to actually come clean about all the things that you
But
did.
if he doesn't come clean, he gets enough sympathy, and potentially he could go back in, because that's ultimately what he really wants.
But he
to
has
be
his-
Of course, that's
accepted
what he
back
really
by
has
the
a
wants.
machine.
show
100%.
now,
That's
right?
100% right.
Does he have a show?
He has a show on some channel.
News
On
Nation.
News Nation. No, but
That's
her
right.
point is that if he doesn't attack CNN and they get new
he gets
leadership,
another shot, yeah.
he could come
News
back.
Nation is not the same thing. He wants to go back.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, let's read this. We got Stronger Than Stone says, I respect you, Tim, but I really wish you would lay off the UFO stuff. It's fine if you don't believe it, but please don't insult your fans that do. If you took any of that as an insult to people who believe in UFOs,
Literally not what Tim
you
said.
have internalized that, and you are it's something inside you, man. Because when did I say the UFOs weren't real?
No,
I was saying that
you said they were exploiting people.
Yeah.
they
with
release
fake
UFO information, real or fake. No, I think I said it's real. Like a guy will see a UFO and then they'll have a document, but it doesn't matter to them.
Right.
And then when the Hunter Biden stuff comes out, they'll release it. So I believe these guys are seeing strange phenomena. I wonder what they are.
My
I never
thing is that
insulted
the
anybody who
Biden
believed it.
administration, rather than being like, we're going to give this to you in honesty and transparency, this stuff that's going on that you guys have been raising questions about, they're using it to cover up their own schemes.
Remember
and
the
that's sort of
Titanic submarine?
cheapening the experience.
Remember the Titanic submarine?
Yeah, that
they
was
did
a
the
total
Titanic
cover-up.
submarine right when the Hunter Biden report was coming out, and they lied and said, remember the pinging? Oh, we hear pinging.
Yeah.
Oh, that's going on. They knew from the start that thing had gone.
They knew
that thing
on
had imploded.
Sunday, and
they knew,
yes.
and they lied to the family. They lied to the entire country. Everybody was talking about. I think I may have been on Timcast during that. It was a huge deal, and we were trying to figure out what was going on. Were they trapped? They knew the whole time.
Remember, they were like,
and they were
at
giving
this
us
point, they would have
updates.
run out of oxygen.
There was
like
Coast
a day.
Guard was giving us updates. Yeah, the media had like a countdown of the oxygen, and they knew, and the Biden administration knew all along.
Because they had heard
And then
an
James
explosion.
James Cameron came out and started yelling at them. He said, "This is a cover-up operation."
Well, because they had heard an explosion on Sunday, and they reported to the Coast Guard. It was like the Navy had heard an explosion. They told the Coast Guard that they'd heard an explosion.
I remember saying that
Yeah.
because I said, "Look, given where it is in the water, we would have heard that if this thing exploded." So I wasn't willing to go there yet to say that the Coast Guard and the Navy would be in on it, right? Even I couldn't believe that our military and our Coast Guard had been so far gone that they would just lie to us about something like that. But they did.
And they did.
They did it right in front of all of us.
All right. Logic
And
Plague
shamelessly.
says we need to start emailing advertisers who work with woke companies and ask them how they feel about working with Marxist terrorists. Incorrect. That won't do anything. That you are in the bottom tier. What would be effective, and I'm not advocating necessarily right now, would be if you emailed companies and asked them why they were advertising on Disney. Disney is fascist and supports the murder of Muslims. And then Disney's going to, a big brand is going to be like, we don't want to be associated with Islamophobia. Well, Disney thanked the security forces that are, the things they're doing to the Uyghur Muslims are nightmarish. It's like, I'm at a loss for word. Forced abortions, rape and murder. These things are nightmarish. And Disney thanked them.
It's actually demographic replacement is what they're trying to do.
Oh, yeah.
This is China's stated goal. The CCP's stated goal in Xinjiang, which by the way they were doing this to an extent and are doing this to an extent in Tibet as well, which the left used to understand. Well, they call it Sinicization.
Right,
but yeah, they're sending as many Han Chinese there. They're making incentives, financial incentives for. So I've been to Xinjiang, I've been to Tibet. That you are financially incentivized to go in there. And even when I was there over a decade ago, you could tell that there were these huge areas of the city that were all for Han Chinese, and it was all in Mandarin Chinese. You wouldn't see any Arabic anywhere. You wouldn't see any of the Uyghur language. And then you would go to other areas, and it's like they became ghettoized in their own cities. And that was over a decade ago.
Yeah. All right. What do we got here? Mary Everett says, so is my Rumble stock finally going to stop falling? I went big 2 years ago and lost half so far. I have a decent amount of Rumble stock. I say decent amount. I don't think it's that much. It's not like I got like millions of shares or anything. I have a very small amount. But when you buy stock in a new company that goes public, yeah, it goes down. That's literally why they go public. They're raising money. So if you believe in the company, buy the stock. If you're trying to buy stock to gamble, I don't know, man, that sounds risky. I don't want to give anybody any financial advice, but it sounds to me like a bad idea to be like, I'm going to buy a bunch of stock and then hope I make a bunch of money off it. Maybe you'll get a few percentage gain. I'm actually really confident in the growth of Rumble. That's why I bought stock. I'm like, man, in 5-10 years, this company is going to be massive. These shares are going to be worth a lot of money. Other than that, you just sit around and wait, I guess. I don't know. Do whatever you want. Do what your financial advisor tells you to do. Who was it? Like there's everyone, all those athletes who did endorsements for like Binance and
right, and they all got sued
FTX.
and stuff
because they were telling people to do it.
Yeah,
that's why I'm always like, no financial advice.
Yeah,
that's like the one, no medical and no financial advice.
That's a great story about that because everyone gave their endorsement, like everybody.
Yeah,
they were paying fat stacks. Paying fat stacks. All right, let's see where we at. Paul Tascalo says, theory, Hunter testifies mid-December, puts on a show. That morning, Joe Biden issues a pardon for himself and Hunter, resigns the presidency, Kamala takes over. Dems get their first black female president, freeing Newsom to run in 2024.
Yeah, all of the permutations of that aren't going to work because Joe and Jill refuse to leave. They're all trying to get them to leave, and they just completely refuse.
Yeah, they won't give it up.
No.
Yep. Where are we at? Loyal Snoop Doge says, less censorship and less advertising. Elon is making Twitter great again. Well, if everybody does sign up for that, for Twitter Pro or whatever, what is it called? I don't know, the blue check.
Blue.
Twitter Blue.
Yeah.
There you
Twitch
go.
Blue.
Then pay for a product that you like and the company runs itself. And then I love the idea that even if you don't want to pay, you can still use it and still read information and still post and do whatever you want. I think Elon's got some pretty great ideas. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a challenge, but I hope he wins. He's completely right about the advertisers. Tell him to screw off. In fact, he said, everyone's going to know the companies that did this. Well, replace the ads that they were supposed to buy with a message saying this company has pulled off ads boycotting the political opinions of people on this platform. You know?
That'd be tight.
You can get real hard with it, actually. I think the reason why Media Matters went after Elon, I think this is actually fairly obvious. Elon announced that From the River to the Sea would be banned, that Decolonize would be banned, and then immediately Media Matters goes after him. And if you look at the tweets from Media Matters employees, they are anti-Israel.
Yeah, they sure are. There was a lot of
they
that.
are.
They went right after Elon because Elon was critical of Hamas.
Well,
and of the leftist protests.
Well, and you saw there were even members of SPLC's union that signed onto straight up pro Hamas statements. So what's up with that?
So that's why they're going after Elon.
Yeah, and
these are the people that lead to advertiser boycotts.
Exactly. And these are the people who then, a bunch of Democratic congressmen like Adam Schiff and Dan Goldman signed on to a letter to Twitter and to Elon Musk and Linda Yaccarino talking about how concerned they were about hate speech on the platform and what else. And they were citing Media Matters. That's where it's like a pipeline.
Media Matters gets treated like it's a reliable source, and it's not.
It's just
Last super chat. Waffle Sensei says, would you kindly spin the UFO? Yes.
I feel like we haven't done this in a while.
Spin commenced.
It's going. That's just what's happening.
Imagine saying Tim Pool is anti-UFO when he's got one right next to him.
Yeah, it's pretty cool too.
All right, that's going pretty wild. All right, everybody, if you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show if you really do like it. And any of the shows, if you watch Pop Culture Crisis, sharing is it. Podcasts grow because of word of mouth, and if people like it, they keep watching. But also go to timcast.com, click join us. The members only uncensored show will be starting in just a few minutes, and I've got a special announcement. I don't know if announcement's the right word. I have a statement to make that I would like you to hear.
A proclamation?
And,
Something you want to get off your chest.
something to be said.
Almost like a confession.
Something
Ooh,
to be
it's
said.
bouncing now.
So
Look at that.
Yeah, the
Tim
math
or
is
the
actually really
UFO?
cool. But anyway, you can follow the show at Timcast IRL. You can follow me personally at Timcast. Jack, would you like to shout anything out?
Yeah, humanevents.com. Everybody needs to go there. This is your best op-ed foreign policy site that you can find, except, of course, for Hannah Claire, who needs to finish her Christmas order over at mypillow.com.
A lot of pressure in this room tonight to
know,
order
it's really
pillows.
quite a
and just
lot.
haven't seen the deals.
You want me to be online shopping during our conversation? That sounds rude.
What do you think I'm doing over here?
Oh, man. So he admits he's rude. I'm sorry. Can people find you on the internet at any social media sites or handles?
Oh, they
no,
know.
I
They
should
know.
completely. I live the life of a hermit
The people know.
The people know.
in the
Yeah.
nude.
Well, I'm Hannah Claire Brimlow. I'm a writer for this cool news site called scnr.com, otherwise known as scanner.com. I'm there with a ton of the people all the people from the Timcast news team, and I'm grateful to be a part of it. They're working really hard on some cool stuff. If you want to follow me personally, you can follow me on Instagram at hannahclaire.b, on Twitter at hcbrimlow. You should follow at Timcast News on all the social media platforms. Still, you can see Scanner's work there. And of course, Libby's with us again.
Thanks, Hannah. I'm Libby Emmons.
Do you call me
can-
Hannah?
Hannah Claire.
That's a hate crime.
Oh my goodness.
You're fired.
Do you know I know a lot of Hannahs, and so
Am I the only Hannah Claire you know?
you're
And
the
you've just
only
forgotten
Hannah
me?
Claire that I know.
Libby's fired. Tweet at Libby about how she doesn't know my name.
Oh my goodness, that is so narcissistic of you to be
To want my name
obsessed-
to be pronounced
obsessed with
correctly.
your name.
I'm sorry that my name means something to me. It means
Anyway.
nothing to you. Libby's
You have
destroying my
no
identity
idea.
one
Wow.
second at a time.
Okay, all right. Enough with the transphobic comments.
Just come up with a nickname.
Right? I'm going to work on that next. Yeah, I'll ask you to do it. Anyway, I'm Libby Emmons. You can find me
Just call her
at
Zoomer
Libby
Tuber.
Emmons on Twitter. And you can check out all the great work we're doing at thepostmillennial.com and humanevents.com. And you can subscribe at postmillennial.com/subscribe.
And I am Serge.com. It's good to have you back, Jack. And it's promo code POSO, I think.
Boom!
Yeah.
Powerful promo code POSO. There are no other promo codes.
Jack
that are
probably
currently
sells
active
like
at any time.
10,000 pillows every time he comes on this show.
You know, it's actually funny because when we look at the numbers, so Lindell was on the other day and he was like, he was like, oh yeah, promo code Tanya, that's your wife, right? I was like, yeah. He's like, because I see those numbers come in, and she's actually. I was like, Mike, you don't need to, you don't need to get to. And then Kyle Rittenhouse, because he's got his book, which by the way, so we've got the promo codes. We do not get a cut from Kyle Rittenhouse. We're not doing that. Just didn't feel it'd be right. But he added on promo code Tanya as well, and he was like, yeah, she's actually got more than you. So
Wow. Well,
Wow.
Tanya is a delightful person.
We're going to go to the
She's a
members only
wonderful,
uncensored
wonderful woman.
show. So thanks for hanging out, everybody. And we'll see you over at timcast.com in a couple minutes.